they got hit by an IED and somewhere along the border, boom, and bad. It was really bad. So they bleed out, very possible. So they packaged them. They actually had to stop there where we were at UDAR at Camp Bearing, repackage, take more blood supply, and then fly the rest of the way to Air Junk.
Welcome to the Calm in the Chaos podcast, where we discuss untold heroic experiences and dive into the mindset of the Navy's elite rescue swimmers. Hosted by former U.S. Navy Aviation rescue swimmer, Mount Everest solo summiteer, and best-selling author Brian Dickinson.
Hey everyone, it's Brian Dickinson. If you're enjoying these stories, please take a second to like, subscribe, and share the podcast. It helps more people find these conversations, and it keeps the mission alive. And if you want early access to new episodes and to support what we're building, consider becoming a Spotify paid subscriber. Your support means everything. Now let's jump in so others may live. I'm super pumped. My good friend, we were best friends for a while. I feel like we did everything back in the HS-10 days. But Steve Ayers, 30 years, got out as a CW4. We'll go the long version, Chief Warrant Officer 4. Steve, great to see you.
Thanks, brother. It's good to see you. It was a good catch up on a phone call the other day.
Yeah.
Thanks for what you're doing. You're spreading some goodness and goodwill for everybody. This is awesome.
Yeah, well, I've been trying, but there's an opportunity to tank it today. Let's see what we can do.
All right, we'll try.
It all hinges on you.
Yeah, got it. Check.
No, just conversation. Yeah, so for others that don't know you and know your history, everything, tell us everything about yourself, like where you grew up, and then we'll get into the military stuff.
Native to a little town in Southwest Colorado called Cortez. I spent, all my life till I turned 19 there and graduated from high school there and joined the Navy.
Wait, you graduated when you were 19?
No, I waited like 18. So I was like kind of old in my year. I was 8. My birthday's September, right? So I'm the early bird.
Yeah, my son's the same.
Best friends, everything. We can drive. Then I waited. So my two best friends, one of them was going to the Air Force Academy and the other one was going to college not too far away in Durango. And I kind of waited till they were off and gone. And then I was going to go join. This is the kind of, I don't know if I ever told you. So I had to go back to MEP. So I went up there the first time, right? Thinking everything was good and I was going. And then you get to the classifier piece and they're like, hey, they bring the medical screening stuff back. And I'm like, yeah, you can't have that job. Because they were talking about rescue swim in the beginning, right? They're like, yeah, you can't do that job. I'm like, well, why not? And at the time I had a steel rod in my leg. It's a pretty good size.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so we'd been in a pretty bad head-on collision with a drunk driver when I was like 15.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so it was pretty crazy. And so they put a rod in at that point, but I had it the whole time post, right? The whole time I did football, wrestled, ran track with the whole thing. And so it never posed, any issues, but it was the risk, right? So the Navy can't take the risk. And they're like, yeah, but you can do these other jobs, right? They were often like cook, MS, and like
all important.
Yeah, all the stuff that I didn't want to do, right? I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna do it. So what do you want to do? So I call my dad, call my recruiter. Like, what do you want to do? I said, well, I don't want to do these. Like, there's not what I was looking for at all. So I fly back. I get it taken out.
No.
I still have that pin. It's funny. It's in one of my drawers somewhere. Should have brought it. It's like this long, dude. It's like 20 something inches.
Is that like a fishing story? Is it really like
20 inches, right? Yeah. And I took it out, and then I think, 6-8 weeks later, got cleared.
Wow.
Went back to MEPS. And then what's funny is like I had 2 weeks. Do these all go? And this is so bad, the order of all this, right? I'm gonna try to keep the beginning to the end, but it's funny.
Yeah, go for it.
So I go, I'm like, all right, 1 year, 2 weeks. I'm like, oh my gosh, man, I can't. Those both suck. I'm like, it's either right now or I have to wait forever. I'm like, there's nothing that lasts like 3 months, ease into this, No. So my dad and their crew are like, okay, well, is there any reason why you can't go in 2 weeks? And this is back at MAPS when I'm up there. I'm like, no, let's do it. So I did. And 2 weeks later, I go, I'm on the plane. So I fly. There's a guy named, I don't know if you ever met him, but his name is Ryan McGrath. And so he's one of us too, from Durango. Just happened to work out. We're going to boot camp the same day and the same boot camp company. So we jump on a plane and fly from Durango to Denver, pick up some more people in Denver, and then on our way to Orlando. And on the way across, it's so funny. I'm sitting there looking. They're all like talking about all this stuff. And I don't recognize any of it. I've had 2 weeks, so they've all had like 6 months, 3 months, 8 months, whatever. And they're all studying like the blue jackets, man, you're talking about earlier, and everything you need on their flashcards, rank
Yeah.
recognition, all that kind of. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? And they all kind of look at me and are like, what do you mean? We're all kind of, in like two rows of chairs. And I'm like, I don't know any of this.
Uh-oh.
And they're like, oh, so it was cram session, right? So they're pummeling me, trying to get me. I'm like, all right, that's good. I'm sure I'll figure it out along the way. And you do, but like the cram session, it was funny. I didn't know a thing.
Well, that was nice of them.
Yeah, it tried. I mean, it was cool. It was fun.
That's crazy.
So yeah, went to boot camp, went to Orlando, then from Orlando to Air Crew School in Pensacola and SAR School and A School in Tennessee. And so
Blah blah blah. Yeah, we're not jumping over that. Let's hop.
okay. All right.
Okay, so you went. What was the month and year that you went to boot camp?
October 92.
Okay, so I was February 93. We
Yeah.
ended up catching up at some point or getting close.
Well, I'll tell you that story when we get to A School. Pretty fun. You'll like that part.
Uh-oh.
So you go to
I can
nothing
edit
major.
all this, so I'll edit you right out.
It's nothing major, nothing bad. It was just, So we go to Air Crew School and it's pretty easy. Like it's like PT session vacation, right?
Mhm.
I remember, excuse me, this guy named Mahoney. You remember how the barracks were? You had like the first floor, second floor, and we're all kind of on the second floor and we're all kind of mixed together. And he was in SAR school at the time. And you see those guys every day and they're just beat down and tired. You're like, man,
Mhm.
it's kind of scary, right? You're like, ooh,
Mhm.
dang, it's going to be hard. So you go and like ask him, like, hey, how is it? What do you do? Trying to get the gouge before you go, and like some kind of front loading to understand, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, if I give you, it's hard. If I give you one piece of advice, he goes, take all the extra PT you can while you're at Air Crew School. I'm like, okay, all right, that's a good point. So I did. I just, had to do the afternoons for like everybody that needed to bump up the numbers, and then anybody that wanted to volunteer, there was an afternoon session.
If they offered that, I definitely didn't do it.
You're naturally gifted. I get it. All right.
Right.
So I took them all. I did it all. And so Air Crew School is easy, and then you get to SAR School, right? So then day one. Here's another good story. So we graduate Air Crew School. How you form up and you're marching to the March of Death, going into the sidewalk. And I looked down, and I can't remember who noticed, but I was missing my belt.
Oh,
and it's pretty early before. So I'm like, Ryan, because he's leading the group, right? I'm like, Ryan, slow the group down. I'm going to go get my belt. I run to the room, grab it. And luckily we were on like that front road there. We're on the like kind of close to there because we had to move at that point, I think. So I had to run up, grab my belt, come back down. So I put it in, and right before we turn the hedge, I get it all. Perfect time. I'm like in. Now my boots are messed up at this point. I'm sweating.
Yeah.
You get around and they started on you. Oh, those boots, they look awful. Like, they're just giving you once over.
Yeah, better than missing a belt.
Oh my God, it was so funny. It was and Ryan, everybody's like going slow for me, slow marching in.
That's awesome.
So bad.
Cohesive unit.
It was great. I'm like, oh, so lucky. And then that was day one, right?
Hey, if you love high-stakes action, military intrigue, and stories that keep you turning pages late into the night, you won't want to miss my new thriller, Bloodline of Redemption. From a rogue Russian submarine on a covert nuclear mission to the unforgiving peaks of the world's deadliest mountains, it's a non-stop ride of suspense and survival. Order your copy now on Amazon or wherever books are sold and dive into the mission.
And then you get the business, for the next 4 weeks. And it was physically challenging, but not too challenging. And what I had to learn, because I was in great shape going in, right? Because I had to do a bunch of rehab and boot camp and extra. And then the DIFAR PT at boot camp, they did that then too. So you're up at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Swimming and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's interesting. And you're probably like, because that pin, that steel pin, that 50-pound steel pin that you had in your body is out. So now you're light as a feather. You're like
floating. It was like 100 pounds. It was I don't know. I had to do some good rehab. I mean, I was always pretty good shape anyway, but at that point in my life. And so I don't know. I took everything I could. I wasn't a great swimmer. So this is kind of the twist, right? You go to, remember the boot camp piece, right? And you're doing like, they're making you like the 4 strokes and to learn.
Yeah,
I learned there. I didn't know that stuff. I had no idea.
I didn't either. Like I was freestyle, like even underwater. Like I was freestyling as a kid, like in Oregon, jumping off the bridge,
Yeah,
which you and I probably
exactly.
did together when you visited. But yeah, you get there and they're teaching you all these other things, and it's like you know what you know, but if you
Yeah,
go into it with that, you're not going to make it past
you're not
day
gonna
one.
make it. Yeah, you either learn or you don't. You either get it or
Hmm.
you don't, and you're on. And that was always the stressful part, right? Is the pressure of yeah, so you got to do everything right or you're gonna go away. You're like, oh, you're gonna go away. Go to the paint.
Yeah.
You're gonna go chip in the
So
paint.
what was the most difficult part? Actually, let's back it up. Aircrew, I don't ever ask this. What was the most difficult part of aircrew?
I don't know. It was fun. I mean, it wasn't difficult. I think probably my entire career till I got to A school was probably academics. Like I think that was where well, I don't think I know. That's where I struggled the most with academics.
Mhm.
I really didn't know how to study, right? I mean, I maintained C average in high school because I had to be eligible for sports, but that's all. I mean, I wanted to play sports and socialize.
Mhm.
I mean, I had a decent course load. I always lacked in math, right? Because I was behind in the math, and I didn't know it then as a kid. You just go to school and you do your thing, right? But over the years, I learned that that's where I really struggled and I think that was probably the hardest part was for even the entire pipeline until I got to A school. And there was, I don't even remember who it was, but there was somebody who actually pulled me aside and I'll tell you that when we get there. But yeah,
Okay. Yeah, because even, there's a handful of people that came from college and, decided to go in the Navy and do this job, even through A school. Once we get there, it's different than
yeah,
college because it is behind closed doors, what we did at least. You couldn't take anything home to study. And it was like, learn this, and in an hour, you're going to be tested on it. So it's like, and then tomorrow we're going to do totally something different or build on that. So
yeah.
it is different. But so, okay, through SAR school, what was the most difficult portion?
I think understanding like,
And it can't be academics. You already said
no, they want you to be, so I'll tell you a story. My free floater, I failed.
that.
I failed the free float. The first rescue I ever did, I failed it. And I'm like, so you're out there in the blue chairs at the end, I'm like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? You're scared to death at this point. So they
Hmm.
pull you in and they talk to you about it. And I remember them going through it and they're like, well, they give you the thing and you discuss basically a debrief after what happened. And they're going through and you weren't aggressive enough. I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, you need to control more. I'm like, oh. So mind you, I was a wrestler since probably I was like 8 or 10. And I became a diver at 16 in that period where I couldn't do sports because of my broken leg. Me and
Hmm.
my two best friends, we got certified diving. So the fins and all that stuff was no big deal. When they gave me a set of fins, it was kind of an equalizer. It helped. I wasn't the fastest by any means, but it helped a lot. It was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is way better. And so when they told me that, I'm like, you mean like they're like, yes, we need you to be more aggressive with your controlling your environment. I'm like, oh, okay. And from then on, it was game on.
Yeah.
I just took off at that point.
Okay.
That was probably the hardest piece to understand, and it wasn't too hard. I mean, the procedures are a lot, you know what I mean? Doing right, head, neck, chest, down through sweep
Hmm.
arms, legs, as you go through it, right? Airway, breathing, all the stuff you go through. I think that was not hard, but a difficult piece to learn because the
Hmm.
different types of gear you work on and the possibilities of each.
Yeah.
Um,
I could see if academically, if your mindset just worked differently
yeah,
leading up to that, that would be a difficult piece because there's a lot of components, a lot of attention to detail.
yeah.
You already forgot your belt on day one.
It's so funny. It's so funny. You remember, I can't remember who you were talking to. You remember like watched a couple of the other podcasts. You were talking to somebody about how like the uniform piece, right? So how to get it squared away like it's supposed to
Mhm.
be, right? There was a guy named Fisher and he was a first class. And I remember like the first uniform inspection, because you look like you put it on like wet rock, right? You put it on as best you can, but you don't know. You just came from boot camp, you never really ironed anything, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So you get there, you tuck it all in, you think you're good, and then you look down the road, and you're like, whoa,
Oh yeah.
how do you do that?
Yeah. I would see Shropshire and his boots were like glass and they would accuse him of like spray painting them. But he was that's just what he did. And like
Yeah.
so a can of starch per line,
Uh,
it's like just cardboard. Yep. You're
well, then
right.
you like get the sew on ones, vice the other, the pan or the my
Oh yeah.
iron on ones. So you get them embroidered, they look nice. And then Fisher showed me how to do that, and he goes, come up. I'm like, how do you do that? And he goes, come up to my room and I'll show you. So I did. Went up to his room, took my uniform, suit, show one, do one, teach one, right? So
Mm.
as it goes, as it should. So he did. He taught me, and from then on, I was like, man, this is awesome. It's way better, and you know the difference, and then you just share it from there. You know, somebody's like, how'd you do that? I'm like, come here, I'll show you.
Yeah. Yeah. You do not want to stand out when you're in, well, you want to stand out in a good way, I guess, but one way or the other, in a lot of these schools, like if you can, you're either a leader, and
Yeah.
because of you've been there, coming from the fleet or something else. But for the most part, if you would have showed up without a belt on day one,
Oh my God.
your whole
It would
trajectory of your
would have
SAR
been so
swimmer
bad.
school.
They would have been on me from day one, you know. I mean, they're
Mhm,
on everybody anyway,
mhm.
but you're just highlighting yourself with a huge spotlight at that point. What are you, stupid? Attention to detail, like everything, you know.
Yeah, and everyone else is going, oh, nice.
And they're like blending away. They're like,
Yep.
you stay over there. So funny.
Okay, so you made it through. Did you do jumps out of SAR school
Huey. That'll be
in the
Huey.
Huey?
Yeah,
How
it
was
was
that?
cool. It was fun, man. But like, I mean, it's the first time, so everything's the greatest, you know. But
Hmm.
that'll be Huey was actually really cool. We're like, I don't know a picture of it somewhere, but I think it was Ryan and I were I can't at that point I can't remember who it was. I think it was him. You know, you got two per side on the sled, I think, and so they're just go go go. And it towards it, you know, like the 10 and 10 or like bring it up. So they bring it up pretty high. I got the picture of it. It's like pretty high. I don't know how high it is, but it was higher than
Yeah,
10
send it.
for sure. I will. I get it some others I was gonna dig up and send to you.
Cool. Yeah, when you first like, how's a rotor wash in comparison to a 60? It's probably pretty light, right?
I don't know, man. They're pretty powerful and they have a lot of it's like a pressure. The upwash from the water hitting you in the face isn't as bad, but that
Mhm.
wind down is you don't really know where you're going, but there's like a different kind of pressure with the Huey. It's not as
Okay.
powerful, obviously, and there's only two blades, but
Yeah.
it's definitely a little different. You definitely feel it. It's not simple like the others.
Yeah. That's cool. I don't know if you remember it. How long's that been? Like 30, almost 40 years ago or
It's been
something.
a
It's,
long time,
it's
dude.
nuts. Um, do you remember when you got hoisted up and you're like in the cabin? I mean, it's loud, but could you hear if Creedence Clearwater was playing Fortunate Son or not?
Yeah, I don't remember that. I don't hear any of that. So
Yeah, I probably don't remember. That's cool. All right, so you do your jumps and you go from amazing Pensacola to
oh
Millington. There's a kick in the nuts.
it I if I never liked it there ever. It was so bad. So
Yeah, great place to have an A school though. Like,
oh yeah, you're in the middle of nowhere and there's not much trouble to be had. I mean, until you
yeah,
get to meeting young ladies and drinking beer or whatever, but you know, because that ends up getting people in trouble there too, because it's really all there is.
yeah,
Going to some of the local establishments that are there, you're like, and I was 19, so I can do anything. I was young, so I was pretty much don't mess it up, don't get in trouble.
yeah. Well, tell us about that.
So we get there, right? And I don't know, it's just different. It's hot. It's Tennessee. I hated it, you know. And basically, you start the academic piece, right? And it's a grind, like you said, and it's a spiral curriculum. So what you learned yesterday applies to today and goes into tomorrow. And so it's really hard. And so I remember going through first phase, and it was difficult. Oh, here's something I didn't tell you either. So Justin Tate, I've known in my entire Navy career.
Yeah.
We were in the same boot camp company.
Oh, wow. That's
We were,
awesome.
it was funny. And so you know, the whole pipeline, we were roommates, like for most part, all the way through school. Him and I and Mike Smith. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So we were roommates together for a long time, all the way through 10, the three of
Yeah,
us.
they're both at two with
Yeah.
me. So. Oh, well, awesome. I know you're going to give some insight there, but give us some dirt on both of them.
Hard to give dirt on in either one, man. They're like
Ah,
squeaky clean, these two guys. That's
I
funny. I
know.
mean, you called it when you'd interviewed him. I mean, he did the Sprite thing, and I'm like, dude,
That is
that's
nuts.
so
Getting winged
brutal.
and you do a pitcher of Sprite.
Dude, that would have been so
I couldn't
painful.
slam a can of Sprite, even the little ones.
So burned so bad. He did it. Dude. I'm like, ooh, man, that's bad. Yeah, so we're in A school. I lived with those two guys. They kept me sane for the most part. So you go through phase one. So the phase one book is like this big, right? And so
Mhm.
the test is hard. I failed the phase one test by like 2/10 of a point. It wasn't by much. So they're like, ah. Now here's the no, well, we'll go through that. So they bring you in, they do your academic review board, right? And they're just sitting there talking through, and they're like, okay, so here's your options. You can either take the B test, and if you pass, move on, right? Continue on. If you fail, you're gone. Or you roll back and it's like 3 months. That's about the stagger. I'm like, oh gosh, well, okay. And I get to redo everything I did to this point, just retake the phase one test. We're like, yes. I'm like, gosh, that's easy. Roll back. Great. More time in Tennessee. I hate this place, but okay, I'll just roll back. Now here's the beauty of rolling back. Justin, Lobo, there's like Mike Smith. They're all in the class behind me.
Nice.
They rolled in
Like Dan
SAR school.
Hudson.
No, so Dan was in the class with me. He made it all the way through. So there
Okay.
was 4 of us that made it through SAR school original, and then we got 2 Marine rollbacks.
Hmm.
It was so
Good,
Fane,
good group to
Hudson,
roll back to.
huh?
Good group to roll back to.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it was almost, I mean, it was kind of a little bit of thought because it sucked. I'm like, I gotta stay in Tennessee longer. But I'm like, well, what am I thinking? All these guys I know are back there. Well, it's easy. I'll just go back
Yeah.
and let's do it again. So I did, and then rolled back and off we went. So it was easier.
So just to back up, so for everyone who doesn't know, this was AW school. It was
Mhm.
called Anti-Submarine Warfare Operator School, and everything was behind closed doors. We had to get our secret clearance. You're learning about all the different submarines, acoustics, and just all kinds of oceanography and everything to track and neutralize subs.
So yeah, so then I went back in 3 months and started over, and then it was fine. I continued on, and I made it all through the pipeline there. At that point, I was ready to go. I like you. I did not like Memphis, Tennessee, or Millington, or it was just I don't know. It wasn't my cup of tea. But not far away. I've been to Chattanooga and like I kind of like Nashville. I've been there once, but I really like Chattanooga. I know that part of Tennessee. It was fun. I was there for like a week. So
Yeah, I think as we get older too, we probably appreciate it. And maybe it's just different than when we went through. There's a mindset you're going through.
yeah, for
You're
sure.
jumping out of helicopters one day, and next thing you're in the middle of whatever. And back,
Academic hell.
it's like going back to boot camp, you know?
Yeah, it was so awful. I mean, you had freedom, right? But at just 19 years old, you don't have a lot of freedom to do anything, really. I mean, you're
Yeah.
just stuck, no car, you're not old enough to do. There was no Uber. You're just kind of okay. What do I do?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember giving plasma to get money for, I won't say underage drinking, but probably just to buy some Sprite.
Oh man, that's so funny.
Yep. All right. So you head out west. Did you
Yeah,
want to go San Diego?
I did. I did. So I wanted to go west. I didn't want to go east. I mean, I'd been to San Diego before, like one time on a family trip. So I'm like, what's funny is like when I was probably I don't know, like maybe like 14 or so, we go down to like Fiesta Island, which is down across the bay, and you see the boats and I saw helicopters flying. I'm like, oh, that would be cool. It's kind of neat to see 2 carriers sitting in port and a bunch of helicopters flying around. Though I won't say that was the driving catalyst, but I know I always liked
Yeah,
helicopters.
just a little seed planted.
Yeah, since I was a kid.
Yep. So you went to
Yeah,
SERE.
went to SERE. Entertaining. You get beat up,
Yes.
beat up
Good
for a
time,
couple
right?
days. Yeah, it's a good time. It was fun.
Did you go through with those guys?
I did. Well, yeah, that's funny. So a, we had a bunch of Marines. It was a huge Marine class, and there was like maybe 15, 20 Navy guys in there.
Hmm.
And so they split the pair up. Oh, here's a good one. So when you got to turn yourself in after you've done like all the land nav and evasion and everything you're
Yeah,
doing.
it's the worst.
So I had a Marine partner and I think I don't remember what he was, not a Navy guy. I can't remember. So the Marine Corps was like, hey, we're gonna go take a nap before we go in. And so there's like that river that has all those huge ass, like, I don't know, a thicket of some kind of plant. And in the
Hmm.
middle of it, you could kind of tamp it down and open. So we run over and we go to sleep for a little while. So we go in there. And then we wake up to the siren going off, right? So we walk out, we go to the road, hands behind your head, knees on the ground, you're on the ground. And they roll up and they're like, in their accent, we've been looking for you. You guys are missing. So, they were kind of worried actually because we were late getting to the check-in.
What kind of accent is that?
I don't know, whatever they had. I do my best to
Okay.
do a SERE accent. They It was funny though. Obviously they weren't going to let us know, but they were definitely concerned because I don't know if we were the last group, but we were pretty close to last.
Yeah, the last thing they want to do is not show up. We've lost
Lose some
someone.
students somewhere. Yeah. It was funny. So, we check in, we go, and you start the beat down from check in on.
Yep.
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 How was your check in when you went in?
Um,
Do you
I had
remember?
heard about they're basically a standing waterboard they will make you drink all that iodine water in both canteens.
Yeah.
So as they were coming to approach us, my arms were outstretched, dumping all my water. They weren't happy about that.
Oh no,
I
that's
started off on a yeah, but yeah, they bag you and toss you in, and you know, it is what it is.
game on. I
It's
remember
scary. It's very real.
there was like the initial kind of lines that you go through, right? And they're bringing a bunch of people in, they're doing the bug check, make sure you're good to go. When you get in there, it was like, I don't know if you had her or not. She was like a shorter senior chief. She was, I didn't know what she was at the time, but that later on I figured that's what she was, blonde hair. She was like giving me the once over and I kind of giggled, right? Big mistake, dude.
Yeah.
And, so she brings this big instructor over, dude, and you think that's funny? Boom, you get the hand that's the size of your face wrapped around your head,
Yeah.
It was you learn real quick. Oh, this is real. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I was paired with a helicopter pilot, and he giggled at their accents, and and then I had to not giggle as he's getting his ass beat,
Yeah. Trying
like
not to giggle because he's giggling and watch him get beat up. You're like, oh, don't laugh, don't laugh, don't laugh.
yep. Yeah, he fell down a hill at one point and they caught him, and what could I do? I stayed and they let him go, and then we got back together, and I
Oh,
never got caught. But I think at some point might have went a little bit out of bounds. It's hard to tell out there. You're crawling for miles and miles.
there's no out of bounds. You're doing what you're doing. Like in my mind, that's what I was. I'm like, nah, man, we're gonna go on this river because it was probably maybe a little out of bounds too in the dry bed river there.
Yeah, and there's like
I'm
a road
like,
on the other side, I think.
yeah. Same thing. It's like, yeah, they're not gonna come look for us out here.
Yep. So for all those that are going to go through SERE, stay in bounds.
Yeah.
Learn.
There might be opportunities to get some rest before you turn yourself in. Maybe.
Don't dump your water.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a great school. Okay, so then you went through all the lame the Common Core and all that stuff, but then you went to
Phaso. So
yeah.
shoot me in the face. I don't need grams. Let's go. I don't need gram analysis.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Have they phased all that out?
I think it's gone. I don't think they do that anymore. If it isn't, it's something different that they do now. I mean, the Romeo has such capability. You know what I mean? There's probably a portion of it in there. I never flew in it. I talked to Justin and a bunch of other guys that were led the charge for bringing it in and the merger. And I'm like, I don't know. I was assured when that'll happen, thankfully.
Yeah. Yep. So how was HS10?
I enjoyed it. It was fun, man. Like, I think your first time getting to fly, getting to earn to go fly around is like the best, right? That's like the cool part. You've been waiting to actually do your job for reals. You're not really, you're learning, but you get to actually apply some skill and get to learn what you want to learn, what you're really there for.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part.
Did you eat some balut?
Bro, we did. You were there. The best part is we had Strick. He's a fleet returnee in our class, right?
Oh my
We
gosh.
had Lobo, but he was not like Strick was going through like a cat too, right, with us. And so he was kind of our dad,
Yeah, still
He's
is.
a big old Fred Flintstone dude. I don't know, man, that dude's massive. I've seen him do some crazy feats of strength in my life. So,
Mhm.
and he's just such a good dude. And
Yeah.
being a fleet returnee, he knows things, right? He knows things that us rookies don't know, right? So I'm trying to think who else. So there was Justin, Mike, Dan, Lobo. I think myself. That's it, right? I think it was just the five of us.
Sounds about right.
I think for the new guys in the class, I don't think there was anybody else.
Yep.
And so we go through graduate 10, and what surprised me is the morning of, right? I'm not gonna say who it was, but the captain, the CO, you're all out in your blues, sitting there, and it was funny because you always heard about like the winging and all that stuff. Heard at this point. Well, he does puts it on your uniform, and then he taps it. And I'm like, oh, caught me off guard, surprised it was gonna come from the captain. I'm like, oh, this is awesome.
I know. Punched him right through your whites in
Yeah.
chest, and like, oh gosh, I got to get this out before I bleed out.
Like,
Get new whites.
Oh man, it just caught me off guard that I wasn't expecting that from him, and it was awesome.
Yeah. It's the same thing. It was just me and Joe Pilzel, the only two in our, getting our wings because
Really?
there's like Seaberg and a couple others that were fleet returnees, but
Man.
yeah, it was just two of us. In fact, you were at my winging party, right?
Yeah.
You punched me,
Probably.
dick.
It's part of the tradition. Yeah, I got
You've
mine.
had your
Good.
wings for like a
Do
few
you?
weeks.
Yeah, of course. I get it. Do you remember the massive line that was at the beach that day?
Oh yeah.
Like I was like, oh my God, all these guys are gonna just bump us. I'm like, this is crazy. I mean, let's do it, t-shirt on and ready to go.
Yeah.
But I remember somebody had taken my wings and like hooked them in like this. I didn't know it, right? They put them on there, and the first person, so they're stuck in there.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, somebody like pull them out and then put them right back in. I'm like,
Yeah.
man. I mean,
Yeah.
at that point, you're kind of on your way. You've had a picture
Oh yeah. You
at
just
that
pounded
point.
well, you guys had the balut, so that's what a fermented
Goose
egg.
egg. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm sitting there, on the pavilion side, like dig a trough. I don't know what the trough's for at the time. Yeah,
Right? What's that for?
I
You're like
did.
digging your own grave.
I'm like, what are they doing? And it's all of us, there. I'm like, okay. So we're sitting there and they bring the pitcher of beer out and they put this thing next to it and we're kind of sitting down. I'm like, what is that? And I don't know if it was who told me. They're like somebody strict or somebody in the crowd. They're like, that's balut. I'm like, okay, what is balut? I don't know. I'm from Colorado. I'm a green kid. But they're
Mhm.
like, it's a fermented egg. I'm like, oh, and at this point, I'm like, oh, I know what that is. I've heard about that. As you clue into the running around in HS10 and being with different people and just the associations you have. So I'm like, what are we doing? Oh, you guys gotta eat that first. I'm like, oh. So I'm thinking, I'm like, how am I gonna eat this thing? I'm like, I'm pretty solid stomach, right? Not much bothers me. I'm like, all right, can I dip it? I'm like, can I dip it in my beer? They're like, we don't give a, what you do with it. Just eat it. Go. I'm like, all right. I'm like, I smash it. I eat the whole thing. I'm like, quick. It stunk so bad. It was gross.
Yeah.
Didn't
How's
that
like
kind of,
the bird is still like half formed in it. You got wings and
dude, I
beaks
wasn't
hanging
even, I
out of
was
your mouth.
just chewing and going, just chewing and going. I wasn't thinking about it. And I see, like, I think it was, I don't remember what it was one guy. I think it was Dan everybody's gagging, I'm sure, but,
Yeah.
having a hard time with
I
it.
don't think Strick was gagging. He's probably looking around, looking for seconds.
Well, I was meeting Dan Hudson. I think
Yeah,
he
yeah.
gagged a little bit, and I think it was because he was next to me. But I'm like, oh, it's rough, dude. This is awful. So I eat it, the whole thing, done. I'm like, all right, no problem. And everybody's like, dang. They're kind of looking at me a couple of guys. They're like, you just ate that. I'm like, yeah, we're supposed to do it. Like, just you gotta go. It was funny. So then
Yeah.
we hit the pitcher of beer, and then and they tell you like if your lips come off, we're gonna fill it back up. I'm like,
Hmm.
and there's balut in it, and you're just trying to get through it. You do it, the wings come out, got it, and you're going, then within seconds you're going back the other way with it, and that's what the trust for.
Yep.
Like, oh, you're smart. All right, I got it.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, the winging was cool. It was, and then the massive amount of people were there. I was surprised. I guess I don't know because we were all going to so many different squadrons. That group,
Mhm.
I think, because we had
Yeah. Most went with me to 2. The
yeah.
others went to 4, right?
Yeah. So I went to 4, Dan went to 4, and then the other 3 went with you to 2.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, let's roll into that. Let's roll in. So I just had Beasley on couple, or actually maybe this week, and he was inspired. As a what was his job? He was like plane
I
captain.
mean, he was he was a plane captain. He was a non-rate airman, I think. And
Yeah, but he saw you in action, and it changed his world and to what he became and did. It's amazing things you don't even you never know the impact you'll have on others. You're just doing your
never.
thing.
Yep.
But take us through that rescue. Want to show your support for Calming the Chaos and the stories of our nation's elite rescue swimmers? Check out our exclusive merch line shirts, hats, and stickers designed for those who live with courage and purpose. Military and first responders get 10% off each order. Just use the code SARRESCUE10, SARRESCUE, the number 10, SARRESCUE10, at checkout. Grab yours today on Amazon or briandickinson.net/store and wear your support proudly so others may live.
So we had, we're probably, I don't know how far into deployment. We'd had a couple already. We had a man overboard that Dan had done. And then we had an F-14 that hit the round down. I don't know if you remember that or not. And at night, and they both landed on the flight deck. And one of them got really bad burned. He landed in the fire. And the other one was okay. He did fine. And then we crashed a helicopter on that deployment too.
Mm.
And so the fun part, not fun, the connective tissue, let's say, is one of the guys that was the second crewman, the swimmer in that aircraft was my crew chief. So he had a crash and a rescue in the same deployment. So it's pretty crazy. So we're doing plane guard at night. We just got done doing practices like I always do. Hey, bounce out, do some practices. New guy, get some sign offs. 10, 10. You do your thing up easy, forward, left, right. And so I was sitting in a door and I just tied, in my wetsuit, just hanging out, watching the water, And all of a sudden there's a flash and I didn't see it because it was off the front left side because I was in the door and they're like, ready for rescue. I'm like, oh, it's like jump in, throw off the helmet, put all my stuff on. And you get back in and I plug back in. And initially, I don't know how we got to this point, but initially it was a thought that it was an F-14. I'm like, okay, because at that point in the air, when we had all different airplanes, And so I'm thinking, okay, cool, 2 guys in the water, let's go. Now at that time, for some reason, we didn't have a set of goggles on or with us at that time, and they weren't mandatory, but they wanted us to carry them. I don't know, we didn't have them. So what had happened for the plane, it had taken off. The main mount had missed. They didn't put it back together correctly somehow. It was missing a piece. So the whole main mount completely just destroyed itself and went through like the left intake is what I was told. So the plane goes to the right, ejection goes to the left. The carrier actually splits, has enough room to split both to shield basically the pilot from everything else in the wreckage, the fuel, water, all that stuff. So that was super smart, the carrier's crew.
Yeah, they're on it.
They were. And but the funny part is as they're going under, as they're splitting through and kind of coming around, he's pretty close. So he's close enough they can hear him from the catwalk, the pilot. So they're throwing everything in the water, buoy, smokes, flare, so we kind of get on top and they kind of get up enough and out of the way. And we're there and it's hard to see. It's hard to tell where he is. He's got a strobe, but there's others in there. We're trying to figure it out. The other airplane, Tom King, I'll never forget. He had a set of goggles on. He was very tactically oriented. He was very, very much that way. And he was always super good like that. I mean, with everything, he was one of our, I don't know, super squared away guys, always on it, And it's funny when you're a new guy and you can kind of feel who's who in the zoo, and you're like, yeah, Tom was really good. You can always tell. Yeah. And I was always kind of watching what he's doing. Because he was never really too keen on too many new guys, especially a new guy like me, because I was the junior guy in the shop.
Yeah.
They're trying to mold me and shape me out of a piece of clay into something better. So it was funny. So he walks us on because he's got goggles on. And so Rod sends me down. So I get to the pilot and they back away. They're making sure he's all right. So I'm really cautious with him because he just ejected out of a plane. Kind of worried about him. And he's really like, just get me out of the water. I'm like, are you okay? How's your back feel? I made him do a bunch of extra movements with his feet and legs, you know what I mean? To anything, because I was nervous. I didn't want him to I didn't want to hurt him. I didn't want to injure him any further than he already is. He's like, nope, I'm good to go. Get me out of the water. Okay. So I hook him up. I send him, right? I'm still thinking it's an F-14 because nobody clued me in. It wasn't.
All right.
And I'm like, this is just the CRM. It's just how it happens.
Yep.
Calm the chaos. This is the perfect thing for it.
Yep.
So it's like, so I send him up and I go to the next closest thing. I just take off, right? I'm like, okay, that's not it. And I throw it away. So I'm looking around, trying to find the next person. And I look back and the helo light's flashing. Come back, come back. Like, okay. So I come back and I wave at them and they send it down and they bring me up and they're like, it's only one. I'm like, oh, perfect. Okay, let's go. Yep. So we went back and landed, and we take them down to medical, corpsman, everybody, flight surgeon, everybody comes to flight deck and get them and take them down. So I'm basically just kind of going, hanging out, grab my bag, and because you got to go to medical now and get checked out. And I'm hanging out like against the wall, just kind of trying to be out of the way. And I'm like, I just want to go take a shower and just go. And so Beasley's right there with me. He comes around the corner. He's like, does the one over and recognizes, I'm in a wetsuit. Only one, I'm just trying to get out of the way. He's like, did you just? I'm like, yeah, I mean, I did. He's like, is he okay? I said, I think so. I said, he seemed okay. And that was really it. And then I don't know what else we talked about, or I don't know. So years later, well, I don't know if we get to that part when I go to 15 and become a shop chief, but it was funny. We talked about that, and I didn't really know. I mean, like you said, you never know who you're going to touch. That's it. The things you do in life, you never know. And it's just, I don't know. I'm sure
It's a
you've
good
been there
lesson
too.
of someone's always watching. You know, you can
Thanks.
do it from a faith perspective, you can do it from being a father.
Yeah,
Kids
yeah,
are always watching, you know, and you see these learned behaviors and you're like, oh crap. Why'd you that just seemed like me. That's not good. But yeah, you never know who you're gonna inspire. So I mean it's just a good a good opportunity to make a difference in the world and you're just out there doing. That must have been it's interesting because so many rescues, you know, especially night, you know, because you're just at the mercy of what you can and can't see.
yeah.
And especially early in those days, you know, NVGs, we didn't fly with them a lot at night until, you know, till we got into the Gulf and then we felt we needed to do them more and then they would brown out or whatever, green
Yeah.
out, whatever, because all the burning over there. But
Everything. Yeah.
um so many people you launch and you don't realize, you know, you have the information that you have and then you get in and you have to reassess being in the water at ground level or sea level, searching around. You didn't have probably even a radio at that point because the old
I
ones
don't
were
remember
shocked
having
anyways.
one. Yeah, I don't remember having one talking through it. Like, I don't know if that came to be till later. I mean, I'm sure we had some, I don't know.
I
At
don't
that
know.
point, it was early, right? So you're talking 94,
Yeah, yeah, and
you
those
know?
radios sucked anyways. Like in with the
Yeah.
rotor wash and everything else, it'd be hard. But you also, it's unique. You had an audience because the carrier's like right there, right? So they're for
I
the
don't know
most.
how far they ended up going away. I just know that, like, at some point they launched the rib. This is some too that I never even knew. And I
Hmm.
almost got run over by the rib. They were
Wow,
coming and they almost ran into the rotor wash. And you remember Mark Jones?
Mark Jones. Mm-mm.
We called him Tool. He was our LP at the time and he made chief and senior chief and he was at the weapons school before. I think that's where his last place was before he retired.
Okay.
Super wonderful dude. Um, but he came and told me later. And so then they went down and they're like having conversations with like the boathouse and like, what are you guys doing? And just trying to figure it out because I didn't even know. I had no, it's too loud. You're not gonna know down there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and
But
you're
it
focused.
almost flipped itself because it was going through the water wash.
Oh gosh.
And I'm like, what? I'm like, okay. And that, you don't know. Like you said, you have no idea.
Oh,
You know
and you
what
also
about
know it's
5 meters is about all you got.
it's like vultures. Like
Yeah.
let's launch the swimmer and you go get this guy.
So bad. It is absolutely like that.
So you never know. But
Yeah.
no, that's awesome. So it's just a cool you know, flawless execution on it. You're new, you're motivated. How'd you feel like when you got down? Were you pretty amped? Were you pretty calm?
Yeah, a little, but I was going through everything in my head though. You know what I mean? You're pumped, like you're ready to go. You can lift a house, but you're also cognizant of, okay, I need to do my steps right at ABC. And I remember his mask, his O2 mask kept getting caught on something. And so I just and sent it. I threw it away. It's because they asked me about it later. Why did you get rid of the mask? Because I don't know what it was catching on, but it was catching on something and it was in my way. And I
Mhm.
threw it. And so those are, I didn't know this. None of us do. Those are kind of custom molded, I guess, to them at the time or something. So they weren't
Mhm.
happy that I did that. And I'm like, well, I mean, sorry.
Well,
I got
guess
rid of
what?
it.
The jet is custom molded too. So
Well,
if
right.
the
And
mask is a small part,
yeah. And that was just one of those things that they get questioned about later on. I'm like, yeah, it was in my way. Like I got rid of it. What
yeah.
we're supposed to do, right? So it was one of those questions after.
All right. So, okay, let's do the 30-year span now. So you had this
Oh my God.
rescue, you're there, you inspired another swimmer to be, and who knows, maybe more will come out and be like, "Hey, I'm also a swimmer because of Steve Ayers because he's such an incredible badass."
Whatever.
I don't see that happening, but
It's probably not. Probably only one and done.
yep. So a 30-year span. So how many total deployments? Like take us through, like shuffle through your life.
There's a lot, man. So there's 11 that I can call deployments, right? But and you're talking tons of other month here, 2 month there deployments, maybe. But so it was HS4 was my first command, and then so here's the worst part. So I was on my third cruise, and I had orders to go to Fallon. I was super excited, right? That's all. And at that point, when I left HS4, I had like 1,100 to 1,200 hours of flight time. I flew a lot, man. And I
Mhm.
volunteered for all of it. I was a plane captain, so I did all the cross countries I could. It was fun. I went to Astoria cross country all the way to like Bremerton and catch a ship one time. It was a great time. I love that part.
Nice.
That was
Did you do
pretty,
advanced SAR?
no, the one thing I never got to do, I wanted to go to Cape Fear. That's the one thing I never got to do out of all of it.
Yeah. Well, only a handful get to go each year.
Yeah, I know. And it would have been awesome.
Hmm.
Nah, It is what it is. It's timing, right? Yeah. So I did 3 deployments there. Um, you know, that can't replace any of it because it was phenomenal. Just the people you meet in the groups and what you do. And then I went supposed to go to. It's funny. It's like I have orders in hand to go to Falmouth. We're on our 3rd cruise, and yeah, you probably lived through this too because you're pretty close. So I come in the comm room one day because I'm the comm soup, right? And so you remember how we used to mess with people, and make fake orders and stuff, kind of messing around. So I come in there and I've got like 4 guys that work for me. And I'm like, all right. And there's a set of orders on the desk. And I think, and it's pretty far into the 3rd cruise. I'm like, haha, that's not funny. You guys got jokes this morning. It's too early for this crap. And they're like, no, those are real. And I don't believe them. I'm like, stop playing. Like, all right, let's be real. Now they're like, no, those are real. This guy named, I think it was either Jason Kolek or Sean Riddle, one of the 2 of them. Like, no, those are real. I'm like, what? It's like an ord mod. I'm reading it and I'm like, you ord modded Navy recruiting duty, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, what? So there's a window in time that the Navy was having not a really good period of time to make goal, right? National session. So CNO comes out and says, I want everybody in this window to this window, screen for recruiting duty. So we're on the ship though. So everybody at home kind of adjusts, right? They can call the detailer and kind of move stuff around. We can roll early, we can roll late, that kind of stuff. Adjust PRDs, extend. We don't know any of this, right? This is 98. The fastest mail you have at that time is a 3.25 inch floppy that you put it on and send it on, right? And that's it. It just takes forever. And so I just send up the fire alarm, everybody from the XO down. We all kind of meet in the ready room and walk through it. And basically it's the options are this. So I got ordered mine, lost my orders to Fallon. You can screen for recruiting duty, or they were like, we could get you to 10 locally, but like I said, I just flew like 1,200 hours. I was like, I know going to 10, I'm gonna do 1,000 plus, 1 to 2 hops a day, rookie students. I didn't mind the flight time. I just wanted to roll back a little bit and something more meaningful like that and go mountain flying and SOC, and just that was my favorite place. So I didn't get that. So I ended up going recruiting.
What was the most rewarding and the most frustrating part about being a recruiter?
Rewarding is when you can do it for somebody who really needs it and they blossom and they do well. And then you hear stories later because you don't know it at the time. It's when they come back and say, hey man, that was awesome.
Nice. So what was the most frustrating?
When you couldn't, and then just the way that, this is going to sound bad, the way the career recruiting force kind of handles stuff sometimes just did not sit well with me at all.
Okay. So from there.
So I went back, when I came back to sea duty. So here's another, you're going to love this part. Our famous detailers, right? So I'm coming back and I want to go back to San Diego. That's where my wife's from, right? She moved with me, we were dating at the time when I got back. I did my last cruise and I come back and I told her, you can move with me, but I got to go, I'm going recruiting. I'm going here. So she 2 feet in, jumped in and did it, and then my first 2 children were born in Durango. My 2 oldest, my daughter and my son. So there's still roots there. Cause I'm like, I don't know, Colorado, 3rd, 4th, 5th generation, something like that. Right. So then, continued for them. But when I'm trying to negotiate orders to get back to San Diego, I call, I think Bubba was at the wing at the time. And I'm like, hey, can you send me the RIS run? So the RIS run's the sheet that has everybody's rotation on it, everyone, all squadrons. I'm like, oh, yes. I'm like, so this one. I was trying to go back to full, but I didn't care. I just want to go back to West Coast. Right? Detailer, like, no, man, those aren't on the books yet. Those rotations. He said, I need a good first class. That's what he told me. I need a good first class, either Jacksonville or Japan. I'm like, I lose my shit. I'm like, I'm so mad. I'm like, neither one of those are West Coast, and I get choice of coast coming out of recruiting duty. I'm picking West Coast, San Diego. He's a shipmate. Japan's considered West Coast. I lose it, dude. He probably could have sent me to captain's mast for the shit I said. Like, I was so mad.
Yeah, that's
he goes, I'm like, we're totally away from every place we ever wanted to go, right? And just to get back to family. But
he's right.
Yeah, I guess
it was. At
the time they did, yep. And I'm like, man. So he goes, calm down. When you're think it through, call me back. Okay. So he was gracious enough to let me vent because he knew it was coming, right? Yeah. So I go talk to Aaron, like, okay, it's not going good. Right now, he's telling me Jackson or Japan. She straight up goes, "I'm not going to Japan." I'm like, okay, that's easy. That's easy
Yep.
choice. And so I call Brantley because I know, we've known Brantley for years, and he's at HS11 at the time. That's where they wanted to send me.
Okay.
I'm like, I call him up. And I think there's one other person that we know from the West Coast that's out there at the time, but I'm like, no, nobody. And I know Jay, right, forever. With Jay Shropshire since the beginning, right? And I think it was a class in front of me, I think. Him and a couple other guys in that group.
In SAR school?
Yeah, in the
No, we were together. So he was behind.
Oh, were you? Okay, perfect. And I've known him for a while, and he went East Coast, right? Like, so I kind of tap into him when I'm going through and what's it like and how's it going. He goes, "You're gonna be fine. It's gonna be good. You're gonna like it." Actually, I said, "Okay." And same thing for him. He was going west, and he asked me. I said, "Jay, the West is gonna do. You're gonna fit right into San Diego. You're gonna love that place. You're gonna fit right in. Just who you are and how you are is gonna be. You're gonna be in there. You're gonna love it." And it worked out both for well. And then I called Brandon. I'm like, "Hey, so talk me through. I'm coming. What's going on?" He goes, "Nah, it's good, man. We got good people here." I said, "Okay." And there had been a guy that was the senior chief at the time, Larry Favors, who was retired mass chief now and worked for Florida State Patrol. But I knew of him and heard of him before because at one point in time, I don't remember if he was at 8 or he was in the crash, I want to say, with Lee. I know he was in a crash. I'm pretty sure it was one with Lee. And so knowing, not because of that, but just knowing history and him being West or something like, and then talking to Brantley, and he's a great guy. He's so funny. We used to give him so much hell because he's like 5 foot nothing, but he's jacked. But, I'm telling you, he's like 5'5", but he's massive, but a superhuman, right? Always patient. And I love Larry Favors, always have. And so there's always struggles with somebody, but over the years, I can't say that I've ever had too many rubs with too many people, right? Who are just really bad. For the most part, in the collective group that we have, phenomenal people, humans, right?
Yep.
We got egos and stuff, right? You get crossways with some people sometimes. Like Tate and I, we got crossways for a while at one point in time.
Oh, yeah.
We just didn't like each other at a point because it was competitive, right? Because we were roommates forever and got along, and then at some point the switch flipped on, and we were just, I don't even remember what happened. And years later we talked. I don't know what we were mad. We made up,
Oh, that's
it was funny. But to the process to getting to HS11, right? So I'm like, okay, so 11 it is. So I go back to 10, back through the Cat 2. Easy, trying to, and I don't know, I was just trying to get in again. I'm like, listen, I got to go. I got stuff to do, which is the way I've always been. I'm like, let's go. We got stuff to do. I ain't got time for mess around.
Yep.
So I was like, I bounced through that pretty fast. And then, yeah, there was some craziness that happened there. Do you remember like Scott Best?
Oh, yeah.
And the stuff that coming back through the Cat 2 and he went home so Jeremy Burkhart, myself, and Louis Borges all got recruiting duty all at the same time, right? Scott Best and a couple others did too. From basically we all kind of fell in that window. And the most of us,
I think Smitty did as well.
Yes, he did. That's right. I mean, we all did pretty well. We were all pretty successful. I think what happened to Scott got home and fell into some old friends and some bad things, but yeah, he survived. That's good.
Yeah, he's doing amazing now. So.
Yeah, I think he did well, lived through it, and came out on the better end. He was always so fun. So we go through 10.
Two Westpacks with Scotty B.
Yeah. Oh, dude, he was so crazy. He was so much fun. I love that guy.
Yeah.
His just always positive attitude, and just I think that was the better part of him. That's why we all loved him so much.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. Okay, so you ended up in Jax for quite some time.
Yeah. So and I never left. I'd spent the next 20 years at NAS Jax.
Yeah.
Did a year in Bahrain, kind of like Mike did, but as a warrant when I was out there, the same place at CTF 57 when Owsley went out there as a senior enlisted guy. We were there at the same time, but same place. So I went to 11. I got there for a little bit. We did workups, cruise, deployment kind of thing. That was a good crew. It was fun. I got forward deployed to Africa. We were on an amphib. We had DSRV sub with 2 DSRVs in tow. We had 2 teams, 2 swig boats, 2. We were like QRF essentially on where we were. They would deploy and meet up and go do missions, probably like 7 or 8 along the coast of Africa, looking for those Al Qaeda training camps at the time. And so that was That was pretty intense. It was good. It was fun. That's what
Yeah.
it would be. That's the kind of stuff we all want to do.
Yeah. Any hairy experiences that you can share?
No, nope, not even all. It was awesome. Smooth and silent and real quiet. They had a couple difficult ones based on the location they picked, trying to get in over the beach line,
Hmm.
just to set up some listening posts and OP posts.
Were you doing infill, exfil, and?
No, that's the part we didn't get to because they would use the SWIC boat
Hmm.
and the DSRB because they had a team on the sub and a team with us. And so they would meet up at said location and swim in.
Okay.
It was hard, but there was one we thought it was close. I'd say because they were trying to get out and the tide was super bad trying to get back out in the
Hmm.
spot that they were in, just the topography and like the location of how like there was a coastline and trying to get in the way it was shaped, it was super hard. So it was really rough for them. And we
What did a
almost
crew look like for mission sets like that? So even if you're quick reaction force and you're ready.
pretty pretty beefy. I mean, we had ODA with us. So that we had two sets of that, and we had two helos, primary and a backup. We just would send a lot of alert fives if they needed to. I mean, there was a couple of times where I thought it was going to be close, but the teeth of it was the ODA guys, and they were really good. They incorporated us into a lot of stuff. They would take us out, and you'd do training probably, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 days up to the actual op based on where it was going to be. And so they would incorporate us into everything pretty much. So the funny part, I'm sitting down, we're doing like a kind of meet and greet in like a CSC type environment on the amphib on the Ogden. And we're all getting together. We're all there. We pick them up and Djibouti, we leave, right? So we stop in. Oh man, I get to see I get to see Robin Williams live that night in DJ.
Wow.
It was great. He was
Random.
phenomenal. It was great. Yeah. Yeah. One of the funny parts about that, right? And so that was, I don't know, memories, right?
Yep.
We pick him up, we do some training there for like, I don't know, like day or two, right? Day into night stuff. And we're doing fast ropes, gun shoots, kind of stuff to get everybody kind of used to each other, how we do business.
Mhm.
Lost a guy there though, right? So we're in doing fast rope inserts at a time over nothing, right? Just there, but they're getting their reps in and we're in and out timing. One of the guys, they've been going all day. And we're like, hey, you guys might want to take a break. We give them the clue, right? You guys been running all day really hard, and it's in day and tonight. And one of the guys just loses the script and falls. It wasn't too far, but it was far enough to injure him. And so now they're down a man, right?
Yep.
Like, ooh, are we still good to go? And they're like, yeah, we're good. We'll just pick it up. Because that was a big concern. I had to take him to the ambulance in Djibouti, right? Take him over, fly him out. It was awful. And so that's just one of those things that you realize that, yeah, it's can happen at any time.
Yeah.
So we
Did
get
he make it or?
yeah.
Oh,
Just
okay.
unfortunately, it was a back injury, because he had all this crap on. I mean, everything.
Yeah.
His 60-pound ruck, his saw, like, and he
Yeah.
just like couldn't hold it anymore and fell. And you know how that is. That's always like everybody's like, what happened? Like,
Hmm.
yeah, we told you. You guys are tired. What are you doing? So we integrate and we go do that for I don't know, it's for a little bit. I don't know, maybe a couple months. And then fly back to the carrier, and then do the rest of that deployment. Pretty normal, pretty Arabian Gulf deployment.
Mm.
DVOA 1, 2, 3, 4, then pull out and go home.
Yeah. And then were you working at the surface swimmer school for
That
some
comes
time?
later. Yeah, I was the OIC actually.
Okay.
So I made chief at 11, almost at the end of my tour there. And
Oh,
so
that's right. You went into Chief Warrant Officer, everything. Yeah.
yeah,
Keep
yeah,
going.
I tried to experience it all. So I went when I was going at the end of 11, I made chief. And so it was four of us that made it together. And did you ever meet Gino Terrio?
Mm.
Okay. He was an instructor at SAR school, but I didn't remember. He was there when I was there. I don't know if he left before you got there or like in that time frame, but he was
How do you spell his name?
Terrio, Gino, Theriot.
Did he have a flat top?
I don't think he had a flat top, but he was a pretty tall, thin guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe not.
The tall, flat guy, I forget his name. Mustache. It was just evil.
Usually.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
I remember doing my final multi and I was going too fast and he kept like grabbing it. And I kept throwing him off. I'm like, I finally got mad. I told him like, get off. And he just kind of grins and swims away, I'm like,
Mhm.
whatever. But yeah, so at the end of it, I was doing that. so we all make chief together. So then normally they would have, all the master chiefs would have like a quarterly meeting or whenever promotions because they manage the rating, right? And they would all get together and do, basically trying to figure out who's they're going to swap and how they're going to put everybody. And so the senior chief that was at 15 was retiring. Gino was transferring to Pax River, and then Paul White was going to retire after one more deployment. So they come to me and like, hey, we want you to go to HS 15. I'm like, oh no. I'm like, I just spent months getting ready to go into this next deployment because I was do one more with 11.
Mhm.
Everybody was fully qualified across the board except for a couple new guys. So it was going to be like the easiest cruise control deployment I've ever done. I'm like, yes. And I'm the LPO.
Mhm.
Oh no, I think it was training. Already done LPO. So it was training at the time. I'm like, and then I made chief. And I'm like, yes. Because hit cruise control. And then we could just do this is going to be awesome.
Yeah, finally.
And the senior chief at the time, who's still a really good friend of mine named Jim Zabrowski, he's like, we really need you to go to 15. Because of the stuff we talked about before, and like you talked with others, like we kind of invented a lot of the CSAR strike stuff, right? With NSW and how we used to do it and how it formed into what it is, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, you did a lot of that. I'm like, well, yeah, I've done a good amount. I helped build the pilot course for the weapons tactics course in Fallon. Just, right
Mhm.
place, right time, good skill set.
Yeah.
So there was a group of us that helped build it. The funny part is like, so we're in Fallon at the time. I'll come back at HS 11, and we helped build that pilot course and get everything ready for the first course. Right? It's like a ghost teach is what we call it. Why didn't you get to go to the ghost teach? Because like, no, you got to go. I'm like, no, I want to go to class. No, we need you back because you got too much going on. You can't like we can't lose you for that course. I'm like, oh, I helped build it. I don't get to go. So we sent one of our other guys. I'm like, all right, I'm at home and he went. It's awesome. It was a lot of work, but the product and watching it evolve over so many years that's always the benefit, right? You make it, just make it better and turn it over and give it to somebody else.
Mhm.
Hopefully it continues. So when they go, I'm like, man. So they're doing 15 has been selected to do air ambulance. Was um, HSC 25 at the time, and then it's going to be HS 15, which is why they called it 2515. And then wave one was going to be Paul White. And we were basically training all of them, getting them all ready to go to do wave one, something the Navy had never done before. The Army was we were so busy as a DOD at that time, the Army was struggling with all of their air ambulance because they just didn't have enough. And so they reached out, the Navy's like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And so we ended up taking it over in Kuwait, and then it evolved from there, right? And they went in north further. We would do cross-border missions on a rare occasion, not a lot, because that was strictly kind of medical. They moved from there. I forget. I think I can't remember where they moved to at the end before they decommissioned, but they had a good few years in Iraq where they would moved it from, and then just a bigger area, that they covered. Um, so they wanted me to go there, and we built it from the ground up. I mean, it was fun. New litter sets. Dude, we went all over the place. So before I accept, I go and I talk to Aaron. So I've got, at this point, I've got three kids, wife,
Mhm.
kids. I'm like, oh man. And then they're talking another full tour. I just finished one 36-month tour at 11, so I'm gonna do back-to-back C. I'm like, ooh. So we talk about it. She's like, is it good? And I'm like, I mean, it's really good. It's better to be one of the first to do something always and just invent it and go, because a lot of that comes with a lot of visibility.
Mhm.
And like, okay, so we did it, and we trained wave one, got them out the door. They did really well, and then we took wave two and did wave two, and it was awesome. I had such a good crew. I had, BZ was on wave one, and I went over to 15, and I took over. I wasn't the LCPO, but would be soon, shortly after that. And I had my own debt. So wave one left. We trained them up, got them qualified. They let out the door, and then we had wave two, and we were kind of on our own to train ourselves and manage everything else with half the squadron. So there was some hard times there because we were just short manned. We get trained, get qualified. Had a bunch of new rookies, but they were good. They were really good. I mean, when I was 15, I had a great shop. Like I've never had a bad shop. But everybody's like, "What's your favorite?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't really have one because they're all really good. There's goodness about each one."
Yeah.
That's the hard part to decide, right? I think,
You hear a lot of times like the first shop that you went to, and I think it's just because it's all new,
yeah,
and
for
if you
sure.
make it new to each one you go to, and just don't get so hardened in your mindset. That's the same with like when you're in a career outside in the civilian world. It's like when you go through college and you're getting these new skill sets, everything's exciting, it's new because your brain isn't clogged with, all this
Yeah,
clutter. So, but yeah, that's awesome to hear that like every place you've been, like you're able to see just the goodness in all of it.
always. And you're right. So it's fun. It's new in your first one. That's why it's all like a new car. It's a new toy, right?
Hmm.
You're learning and it's all exciting and everything's new. And then as you mature and grow, now you got to remember somebody else is like that. And so you got to
Yep.
teach them the lessons, teach them the hard lessons that we've all learned over time because we're all replaceable. We're not going to stay. It's not about me or you. It's about the job, the people, the squadron, the entity itself, right? If you
Hmm.
want to keep it good, you have to pass those pieces on. That's
Yep.
the key. And so I mean, for me, that's always been the key, right? So somebody took the time to teach me, right? Like at A school, right? When I struggled. I didn't tell you that part, but there was an instructor there and he pulled me aside after, and I had manual study, right? From then on, right? And he goes, and he asked me how I study, and I'm like, well, I just kind of read, and he goes, you get nervous when you take tests? I'm like, oh yeah, yeah. Kind of blanks out. He helped me so much, and he taught me actually how to study, right? He showed me how to study, told me how to stop with the anxiety, stress crap that comes with that stuff that you don't even know what it is. You just know you get nervous.
Hmm.
And so at that, the pass down level, right? Somebody took the time to invest in me. Well, I'm going to do the same, right? That's what's it's earned. It's always
Yep.
you got to earn it, right? And that's always been kind of where I was with everything, just because some people deserve more. I'll say, everybody deserves a good amount, but then there's the ones that actually put in the effort and they want to learn. They don't want to know,
Hmm.
they want to learn.
Yep.
And
Yep.
those are the
There's
ones
definitely
that
a difference.
you see the future, right? In those, you're like, that one, that's the guy right there.
Yep.
Yeah. So we went 15, did air ambulance, I think we did like 7 months there. It was busy. That was fun. It was crazy. The group I had, we went to like El Centro and Fort Irwin and Bragg and just getting qualified and getting to know each other more. And that was it was really busy, but it was fun. I mean, it's serious, you know what I mean? And then when you get the call, I'm like, okay, it's time to go.
Hmm.
And it's the serious business, right? Lock in and let's do it. But the group I had, I couldn't have asked for a better group. I had 8 corpsmen, I had 8 guys from HSC 21, and my 7 or 8 of us, right? The mix of the group was great. Super professional skills. They were all badass in shape. Like it was phenomenal. I couldn't have asked for a better group. They made us so successful just because of how good they were.
Hmm. Were
Yeah.
you guys like the swimmers, the air crew? Were you guys getting EMT qualified as well?
No, because we had the 8 star Corpsmen, but we picked up a level, and it wasn't even really anything crazy, more advanced, let's say, because we had to know certain parts, and it was specifically for this. But we wouldn't. I was an EMT before when I was in HS4. They sent me to EMT school. I was there,
Hmm.
um, and so it helped, right? But then you don't stay qualified. The Navy doesn't recognize outside EMTs anyway. It's just an added skill set, even though we've tried to get them to do it for years. And so the benefit was the corpsmen. So all the corpsmen we had, they went to like these crazy schools. I don't even remember what they're called. They take like I don't even know how many of them went, but I think maybe all of them. They take and they injure a pig. They stab
Are,
it
are
like
we allowed to say this on the Calm and the Chaos
I don't know, but
podcast?
they injured this pig, and it's part of this course, right? And it's a super
Mhm.
high level course that they go to, and they have to keep it alive. This
Yep.
thing's injured to boot, and they do all of them. It's crazy. They show you all these cool things. So they would take us and teach us, right? And I'll never forget one of the times because we were getting IV qualified, doing nasal cannulas and that kind of stuff to
Mhm.
help, right? They didn't want us to do it because obviously they're the corpsman and we're not, and we'll help with whatever they tell us to.
Yeah, stay in your lane.
That's it. And like but they were really good. I remember when they were training in the classroom. And I think we're in Kuwait. We're just doing quarterly training. We're all in there. The groups that weren't on duty for flying. And there's a guy named Ross McCook. So I'm working with him, and I think Charlie Stone King and Bobby Bickelmeyer next to us. And oh man, the corpsman, he's like, "Are you ready?" And I'm like, "Yes." And I got, like what I think is I've got a good stop on the blood flow right before, and he's like, and he's gonna do the IV, and I'm just gonna hold the blood flow. He's like, "Okay," so he lets go, and it does one of these, it just
Oh.
shoots out. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
it is not down enough. It Ross McCook, I'm like, he turned white as I've ever seen, dude. And I'm like, Ross, and he's kind of a big guy. I'm like, what happened? He's like, oh, I don't do well with blood. He's like gonna pass out almost.
Yeah.
It was so funny. So yeah, we did another funny story, but yeah, we did do a good amount of advanced, more than we would normally get
Hmm.
treatment, let's say, packaging, litters, wound training, like all this. It was a lot. And yeah, it helped out because there's a couple times when it actually got tested a couple times.
Yeah. Tell us about it. Give us an example.
There was, I think the worst one, we had some really crazy ones. The worst one we had though as a group, and I think it was, I'm trying to remember, it was Charlie. I can't remember who was Charlie Stone King, I think was the crew chief. And they had a guy that two, I think it was one or two. They got hit by an IED and somewhere along the border, boom, and bad. It was really bad. So they bleed out, very possible. So they packaged them. They actually had to stop there where we were at UDAR at Camp Bearing, repackage, take more blood supply, and then fly the rest of the way to Air Jaunt because Air Jaunt was like what we would call like the level 3. It's the point of departure if you're going to send somebody out to like Germany or something like that because it was bigger. They had a bigger hospital there. We would pretty much take our in Bering. We had like a little. It was a little medical called Battalion Aid Station. Essentially, it's pretty small. They could do certain things, emergent care, and a lot of times we get called from them, package, pick them up from there, and then we would take them to Arifjan sometimes if they would drive them in. If we didn't bring them in from wherever they were, and then package them and then send them. But yeah, that one was really bad because that guy they say that he used up our little AOR's blood supply in one night and we had to resupply and everybody was donating blood and stuff like that. He lived though, from what I heard, they lived.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those femoral bleeding and it was really bad. That was probably the worst one. And then, we come back and there's crap all in the back of the aircraft and we're trying to, man, that was a whole nother discussion on trying to get people to join in to clean it, right? We're like, hey, we got to get back and ready. So you get to fight with maintenance. They're like, we're not cleaning that. I'm like, well, you're in the 4790. You're supposed to. So I'm not telling you you're going to do it, but I'm telling you you're going to help us because you are the QA to make sure it's clean and ready to go. Taking up floorboards and it was bad. It was a really bad one.
Yeah.
Um, I
How
had,
do you do with, and we'll get to another example, but just
yeah,
how do you do with, there's things you can't unsee. You're in it, you're in the red just every day and it's on to the next. We're very much trained to compartmentalize, but these things do catch up. Like
they do. They take a toll. You have to compartmentalize and then you have to, like, we play volleyball. We go play volleyball, the group, and just go to the
wait, like Top
gym.
Gun, shirts off, dog tags
Whatever.
out.
I don't know about all that, but yeah.
Come on.
We'd all go and just play as a group and just, we'd talk about stuff and talk through it. The compartmentalization is key, right? Some people I think struggle with it more than others. It's just things that happen in life that what are you going to do? You know what I mean? You can either process it, accept it for what it is, and then continue on, or you struggle with it for a long time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I
that's
think the dealing with it is,
yeah, it's hard, man. It's really hard for some people. Like that, some of those things were bad. You remember there was a bad rescue we had, I think on my second or third cruise, and it was Dan Hudson, and it wasn't rescue, it was recovery. And Mike Harper, Guido. You remember him?
was this the EA6?
I don't remember if it was ESX. I thought it was a 14 that turned upside down. Something with cables and it turned upside down and they ejected straight in the water. We never found the pilot, but they found the Rio, I think. I think that's how it went. Then they recovered him and put him back, and that was bad. That was really bad.
Yeah. I know we had two carriers on scene just off of, doing a debt. Maybe it was a prowler one. I mean, these things happen, but the maybe it was 8 that picked him up. And yeah, one of the swimmers, they got 2 guys out, and the swimmer stayed in the water for some time, heads on backwards, just
Yeah.
hit the canopy, all that stuff. And Justin and I think Haskell went in and picked them up, and it was a different squadron came in to pick a swimmer up from the different,
Yeah.
that was as shocking in it as anything. He had so many people on scene, but yeah, these things are horrible and you never know how you're going to respond to something like that.
No, not till you get in the middle of it. And I don't know. Everybody's gonna do what they react how they are.
Yeah.
Guido did his job, he did a great job, right? the aftermath though got him out of the water. You know, you're attached to a dead guy, and they get him in the aircraft, and you know what we all was told. We were always told that you do CPR till somebody can pronounce, right? So they do it all the way back to the boat. You know,
Yeah.
he's frothing and bleeding, and it's everywhere. Him and Dan are just trying, and it's awful for
Yeah.
them. So I remember. I don't know the follow on whoever I can't remember if it was Jeremy or myself or something. We were all trying to just come up and help get taken over that flight to continue because we're in the middle of the cycle still. We still
Yeah.
got planes to land. You know what I mean? So it's like okay, and so they clean out as best we can, and then we're out. We got to go till they come back. Mike struggled with that for a little while. That took a toll on him. I don't think forever. I think, but for good better part of the rest of that cruise, I think it
Yeah.
was hard on him. He wasn't the same for a while.
Yeah. I mean, you never are.
No.
You go to SERE school, you're never the same.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
go, all these things are dramatic events.
The song, right? The song still sticks with these boots, man.
Yep. Yep.
I had one for air ambulance it was not too bad. What got me, so there's some civilian EOD guys, right? And they're using, dynamite to make a road. And so the guy we picked up had a hot flash on it and the dynamite blew up on him. Luckily he wasn't like over top of it, and it was small enough, but it was still really bad. So half his face kind of gone and that kind of thing. And so me and the doc are in there, just trying to keep him put together till we can package him and get him transported to Arizona. But we're just trying to figure out who he is, right? And so the thing that hit me the most, right, is when I open up his wallet and there's a picture, family, right? Wife, kids, that kind of stuff. Just trying to put his name. I'm like, God, that's the hard part. So you don't want to think about that stuff. You're compartmentalizing. I'm doing what I got to do, but then you see that, and then that kind of throws everything off track. You're like, oh man, that was bad. We had a couple others. There was
what you do in that scenario is you see that picture and you think, oh, that's probably the picture that came with the wallet. So you just, it's the weirdest things that we'll do just to like shift our mindset. We'll get through this. I'll cry later.
I don't think it was the framed picture when you buy the frame. I don't think it's that picture, maybe.
Right.
There was a couple others that were kind of crazy. We got a lot of minor stuff, right? Just, heat exhaustion was the biggest one. And I'll tell you about that with the Corman. They were great. But one of the guys, we had those oil towers that were out there, K-bot and A-bot, right? Out in the Gulf. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember which one it was, but we had some of our team guys pulling security, right? And one of them had fallen off a really tall tower into the water. Like, boom, we're talking, it was really high.
So he fallen or thrown off?
No, he fell. Has enough strength in him because he's got all this crap on gear, gun, swims to a platform and is able to get up and in, but he's jacked bad. So they send our Charlie, and I think that one was Bobby or Ross again, and Corman, I think it was a Griffin. They send him out. And so there's kind of a landing pad, right? But they got like this little gun shack on it, So they come in to land, and as they come in, the rotor wash just kicks all this crap. It just goes everywhere. So they can't land there. They're like, yeah, way off. So they come around and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do because now they got to rig a litter. They got to first drop the corpsman down. So they have these long walkways and they have like a little opening so people can pass and come down and continue from section to section. And so they figured that's going to be the hoisting point, right? So they get the guy over there. We send our guys down. The corpsman put him in the litter and they pull him up from there, and then they fly from there. All the way back to Aviation. That was he was hurt bad, like collapsed lung kind of stuff. It was not, pretty injured. So, that one wasn't too bad. I mean, just getting him out was the pain, just the hazards that are associated with that crap. Because nobody ever, well, the landing pad had this little gun shack on it, and it wasn't like a bunch of wood. It was bad. It was funny. They just had a bunch of crap out there that went everywhere when we landed. The yard sale, everything.
Oh yeah, totally. Everyone's pissed off at you guys later.
They're mad. What are you doing? Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, so that's pretty eventful. We'll get to
that was at 15, right? Mm-hmm. Back to back season. That was probably like midway through my time there, maybe 3/4 of the way I got back. And then we get back and so Paul retires. I have the shop by myself. I'm a CPO now. And then Charlie makes chief when we're in Kuwait. That's awesome. Super excited. And he's deserved every minute. He was so good. Major reason for success for everyone is Charlie Stone King. And and the wife And to the kids, they're phenomenal. We haven't talked in a long time, but we were all pretty close. I don't know. The rest of that tour till the end was like 10 months of ship debts, boat debts, week here, 2 weeks there, because the rest of the air wing was forward deployed. So all of our pointing noses were gone, F-18s, E-2s because of their radar skill. We had like us and the CODs that were in the air wing left. That's it. So they're like, we need you guys to fill in some boat debts. We're like, so we would take turns, to get the first classes to be mature after we get comfortable that they're going to run the debt right. Just kind of the maturity process, right? Letting them learn what they're about to get into. And then towards the end of that, HSC 84 had been so busy from 03 and on that they asked for volunteers, right? They asked for one. So I go and I get the email, or I think my skipper had asked me. He goes, "Hey, come down and talk to those officers." I say, "Hey, come talk about this." Okay, so I talked to him. He goes, "Hey, what do you think?" I said, "Man, let me poll, let me see what we got, and see if there's any interest, and we'll see what we got." And I already knew there was, but yeah. So we go down there and I talked to Charlie, and so I'm like, he's probably mad at me because I did it, but I'm like, all right, so, and I'm getting the end of my tour. This is it. There, and he'd been the CPO for like maybe like a year or so at this point. And I'm like, all right, buddy, it's your turn. He's like, what do you mean? I said, I'm gonna go to 84. I've already talked to Sammy Rodriguez. He wants to go with me, and he's a good dude. He's solid. That's why I took him. And we'll send 2 guys, and you're going to take over as LCPO. And then when I leave, I come back, I transfer. And he's like, he didn't really like that, but it was his time, let's say, in my opinion. He probably didn't want to. He probably wanted to go. But I'm like, I'm going to take this one, and I'll go and take Sammy with me, and then we'll come back and go do our thing. So I did. So I transitioned, went back skipper. I said, we'll give you 2 to help the effort, because I know some of those guys in there are struggling. It's a lot. I had crossed paths with one of their senior chiefs years earlier, and I don't even remember where, but his name was Wayne Kloss. Great guy. And then when we coordinated, and they said, yeah, that's us. So they reached out, and conversation with this guy named Robbie Robertson. Well, not Ronnie, Robbie. He calls me and hey, what are you thinking to do? Kind of fill you out, right? And I'm like, I'll do whatever you guys need. Listen, you guys need volunteers. It's what we're coming for. I said, we'll be door gunners. We'll run divisions, whatever you want. I don't care. He says, okay, good. Made him more comfortable, right? Because I'm not looking to come and stamp my name on something. I'm just coming to help out the effort and go because I can.
Yep.
Sammy was the same way. And I picked Sammy because he was level-headed, could handle his own like nobody we've ever seen. He's a good dude. Yeah, and he was always really good. And he'd already shown me interest in wanting to do that with them anyway. I'm like, okay, well, let's go test it out. Let's go see. So we went through their training pipeline, and it's always like a gauge, right? Because you got guys that think they know, right? But then you got guys that actually know. There's a big difference, right? How to do things. And so they would kind of feel it out. And we're like, okay, so what are you good at? What are you not good at? And we told them straight out. I said, we're solid in probably 90% of everything you got, the 2 of us. I said, we don't have the GAL experience, which was super fun to learn. And then, we don't know what we don't know about being over there. We've never been over there. And that's where you guys come in, because you are resident experts on everything Balad and Iraq, right? And it's for us to learn, you to teach. And so I have no preconceived notion just because I'm a SWITty that I know anything about the FOBs, the LZs, where they're going. Like, we can read about certain stuff, but practical application teaches you everything, and all the experience in the room. No, that's not how this works. You need to be humble when you walk in that room. You're qualified, but you're about to learn a whole level more, because nobody else does that except for them.
Right.
And they have a long history of it. And so that was, I think that was the best part. So they take us out, they test us on 240, we kill it, right? Day, night. And then they're like, okay, good. Then they go like this with a PQS. They're like, they start marking off a bunch of crap that they realize now that we don't need. And what we do need is all gal. And so we did. So we went to like Nellis. We went to Fort Story, I think. We'd say like a month for Nellis. Nellis was a lot of fun and very, very, it was very beneficial because we got to fly joint with a good amount of different people, and you really learn about how good the A-10s are when you fly with them hand in hand. And like we're doing same, like you have, so we would go and do gun shoots, right? So the gun shoot, you're running, like they said, there's 3,000 aside, so you can go through that really easy, fast. but you try and limit and be efficient with what you're doing. So the range safety guy is the 810. He's in the aircraft, right? He's calling, telling you on, off, on target, and we're flying, and he goes off target, and then he'll come in like this and shoot the same target we're running at, and then go back to controlling you because on target in here. Then you go back to it, right? You learn how really good those guys are and how humble that community is, and they're great. They were probably I don't know my favorite, but they were direct access that we got to with those guys.
Yeah.
Super.
One of the coolest things in my time, back in the 90s was we were over in Kuwait, shooting the tanks from the first Gulf War. We'd go out there and target practice,
Yeah,
60s and M240s. But I remember we heard Warthog inbound, and just amazing to see those things in action, and just the sound of it. You'll never forget the sound, just lighting them up. And then, then we're like small arms fire at that point, just like,
ting, 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 ting. Yeah, it's like this little
sparking
BB
the
gun.
tanks. Yeah, so I get it. Yeah, it's awesome.
They were really good. I remember the first time I ever ran into those guys. So it was funny. I was in 4, and I don't know if you remember Tim Metcalf, but he was at the wing at the time, and he's like, hey, he calls me. We were roommates for a little while. What are you doing in September? I'm like, so I look at the calendar. I'm like, that's open. He goes, okay, you're going with me. I'm like, what are we doing? He goes, don't worry about it. Just tell Wally, because Wally was my LPO at the time, Mike Walsh. And he's like, because he's gonna want to go, and they're taking 4 of us. So there's 3 us 3, and then one of the guys that we used to have a billet in Nellis for the CSAR rep that was there. I don't have it there anymore, but his name was Mark Kennard at the time. He was the chief that we had, and so like, okay, cool. So we go to Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and so we're in testing the initial stages of like the laser detection system that they put on the airplane. This is like I want to say like 95.
Wow.
So they split us up into 4 groups, and you have 2 civilians, techs that you're with, and there was 4 groups of us running to all different parts of the ranges, and they would have like we'll call it some kind of SAM, right? That they would take everything, the laser worked, the optical worked, and they would record. So they're recording the data on how the systems were working on the aircraft they were recording in on the ground to see the results, right? Then you go, and it was this. I think they were from Tonopah, Nevada. They used to call it, I think, the Tonopah Roadshow or something like that. And they had like a ton of Cold War gear, modern era like tanks. I've seen a real ZSU. Like there's a bunch of stuff they have. They have all kinds of stuff. In that group, we would all go into different pairs, and we all go to different places every day. So our part was this little launcher. It's like called the Smoky Sam launcher. And so we'd wheel it out and like put it in this spot, and it had this like cable like 200 feet or so. And then we would put we'd put the camo netting over the Humvee that we rode out in, and it'd be waiting, right? And you'd see a helo pop over, right? And like, oh, that's top of the tree line. We're in Hattiesburg, it's pretty open. So they're there and they're hitting it, and they're collecting all the data, doing all the right things, and you launch that they launch. And so we would shoot this Smoky Sam, and that's all it does is just a smoke trail that's simulating a SAM, right? Well, the minute that happens, you're dead. So then you got like high boy, 2 escorts, right? And you're getting smoked by whoever's in the place. And there's always the argument like, yeah, we got you. No, you didn't. You missed. The fun part about the exercises, that kind of stuff. But that's where you really learn about like the 810s for sure. That's what I really learned. Because that was just crazy. It was on a range one day, and I heard that noise you're talking about. So I'm pretty far away from it, but it's like that tank rate, and I just hear it on the ground. I'm like, and it's a ways away, but I'm like, what was that? And so I'm looking up and I see it, and then I hear it. That's way delayed. You see the smoke, and then the burn. It was pretty cool. That was the first time I heard it in that little thing, in that little test session. That was a good time though.
That would be cool. Yeah. Wow. It's okay. So from there.
Yeah, we went. So we do the training. We go back to Norfolk. We pack up, and then we go. We fly to Balad. We stop in Germany on the way across, and then we have like a day or 2 there, and then we get into Balad and just start rotating. Like it's a kind of, you do like a side saddle with who's there to learn a little bit, front and back, one aircraft. And so we start, learning. The learning is real. Like you're in the middle of it, so. But you're learning about the fobs and the ID markers of how to get into this place and that place and where these are and what these points are. You learn the lay of the land, essentially. What are the points? And you never take the same way in or out twice so it's a while, right? Because then you're predictable, right? We would always take a different out and in depending on where we were going. And there's tons of planning. There was always a lot of planning involved. There was a ton. Some days there were direct action missions, DAs, and then there were others that was just transporting our teams and their gear to the next place where they were going to go. But we worked specifically, Siege SOTF, right? And that, Special Forces Task Force. That's what we're for. And there was a white cell and a black cell. Black cell had their civilian clothes and blue vehicles and helicopters and all this stuff. And then we had, uniform stuff. It was good though. It was fun. There were some good times there. It was crazy.
Awesome.
So then we came back. Yeah, I don't know, 6, 7 months. I got back and I went back to HS-15, and I transferred right away. I was negotiated orders and transferred to CVTSC ashore. So at this point, you're gonna laugh. So this was the first in-rate short tour I'd had in 16 years in the Navy.
Wow.
Yeah. So I did that recruiting tour, which is super busy. And then back-to-back sea. And then I go to CVTSC ashore in Jax. The reason I went there is the same guy, Jim Zabrowski. He's like, "Hey man, I need you to come take my place." I'm like, "Dude, I don't want to go over there. That's gonna be horrible." Because it's this place that everybody's like, now he goes, "No, it's actually really good. We got some good stuff going." Okay. So I go over and I see. And so essentially you have a mobile training team and you're gonna go out and teach the carrier ASW module, ASW, right? The other side of that though is you're the civilian liaison to the program office that's in charge of all of this entity. And that was actually really fun. I learned a lot there, working with engineers and software and like building the watch floor in Silverdale, across from SeaTac. Just almost straight across.
So you were here and you didn't stop and say hi?
Well, I didn't even know where you were. That's the thing. I'm like, shit, if I would have, I would have.
Okay.
I had no idea. That's why I said that's the sucky part about everybody going their own way,
I know.
For sure would have. But we spent a lot of time at Silverdale and in Norfolk and just teaching, and then we'd fly the carrier. Went to Japan a couple times. And it was actually a lot of fun because you got to travel, you got to help change. So at one point in time the carrier was closing, right? They're going to close down the ASW module. And so the last group I think was in 2006, I want to say. And this guy named Chris Bowler, he was a friend of mine. He's like, "Yeah, I think we were the last one." He's Master Chief. I think he just retired. He did actually. He was the last group to go through. And then at some point, somebody in the ASW world in the care was like, "Hey, why don't we open this back up? Like, we need this. We closed it." Because our side of it was like, "What are we doing? We shouldn't be here in the first place at the time, right? We're supposed to fly." And that was always kind of a point of contention with the groups that got stuck onto the module. You always felt bad for them because now they're out of flying, they're in the carrier. I'm like, oof, I don't want to ever go there. That was always the attitude.
Yep.
And then so we reinvented that whole module. Worked with that, like I said, the engineers and program office industry to put consoles back in, systems back in, and depending on which one you would go to, they would have different. They're not all the same cookie cutter because sometimes the spaces and where they put them are different. So you got to kind of learn, and then you teach the OSs and the OSs, STGs for the most part at the time because the AWs weren't in there yet. And you go in there and train them and run them through exercises, and then they had to do it once per deployment cycle. And so it was pretty fun. That was rewarding because we got to do a lot.
Did you have to get like a different clearance for that, or was it still secret?
No, the same. Yep, still the same stuff. It hadn't evolved yet to what it is now. So now it's the upper level for pretty much everybody that's like Romeo and some crews on the P8, and they're trying to upgrade them based on systems, just to a higher level, the TS stuff. So I'm like, oh, okay. But at the time, no, wasn't a big deal. I applied 3 times for warrant there, and on the 3rd time, I finally got selected.
Nice. What was the driving force for wanting to be a warrant officer?
I don't know. I was struggling with the community of where we were going. I didn't like it. I didn't. It is what it is, right? So I didn't want to move to Norfolk, right? Because 84 guys, every once in a while, we get a call from a couple of those guys saying, "Hey, you want to come back?" Then I'm like, I would love to come back. I just don't want to live in Norfolk. I just don't like it up there. I don't care for it. And that's just, there's the people that love that place. And I'm like, I get it. It's not for me. I think that was a bigger struggle is one, I didn't want to live in Norfolk if I went HSC Romeo was like, they didn't do the swimmer stuff. They didn't do all the other missions we did. And I really
Hmm.
liked those. So I had a hard time with that. And then at the end of the day, I got to look into, and I'm like, well, if I retire as a warrant, that's way more.
Hmm.
Like the retirement's way more, and that's forever. So that benefits all of us, the entire family.
Yeah. So how does it like bring us through the process of becoming a warrant officer?
It's not too difficult. I mean, you have to have some kind of drive to do it on your own, right? Because if you're interested, you reach out, build your package, do your thing, and then when you show interest, the community's going to board, right? They're going to board candidates and say, "Yep, we like you." And sometimes they're like, "Hey, you need to apply." So that's
Mhm.
what my buddy Jim. So years earlier, I was going to apply to be an LDO, and he's like, "No, no, 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 no. I need you to stay in the community." When I'm like, I think I'm like a first class at that point because there was another guy named Ken Chambers. Yeah, we were both first classes, and he applied and got selected. He ended up being an LDO and retired as lieutenant commander. And I'm like, all right, fine. And I didn't apply. And that was when I was an HS-11. So then fast forward, I don't know how many years, 6, 7, 8 years. He's like, hey, you need to apply and be for a warrant. I'm like, what do you mean? And he told me not to. It was funny. But he's like, I was wrong, which is very rare for him to ever admit that he's wrong, ever.
Well, it's probably because he rarely is.
Yeah, you could say that for sure. So he broke it down and showed me like the pipeline, the paths, what the possibility could be. Because I was struggling. I mean, I don't know. A couple of my mentors said I'm definitely going to make Master Chief at some point, right? And I was always open to that. I'm like, yeah, sure. But when you do that, it's no more fun. Like you don't get to fly anymore. You run
Mhm.
schoolhouses. I'm like, which is fine. It's awesome. There's a need for that, right? Because you're the guy, you're the knowledge base, and you're teaching and running and managing and all these things. I said, but I still like to do some deploying and just I don't know. I always said if I was to, when I made Master Chief, I would have done a tour for sure to do payback toward the community and then maybe become a CMC. But I didn't like all the way they do CMC stuff and just move them everywhere. I think it
Mhm.
was crazy. So I was struggling with what I was going to do. And it's a good struggle, right? I mean, those are all positive moves. I just got to figure out
Yeah.
what's best for us. And so my buddy Jim is like, you need to apply. I'm like, okay. So the year he made it, this is the year I applied. And so they were only selecting 2 a year then. That's it. It was tough. It was tight. The first year it was Jim Zabrowski and I think Josh Benchoff. And then the second year was a guy named Roland Dupros and Ryan Keenan, who's a good friend of mine. And then the following year it was myself, Scott Athanaut. I don't know if you ever met him or not. He's a
Mhm.
Hilo guy too. He's a West Coast Hilo guy. He's up in I think he's in Montana now. Yeah. Great guy. But yeah, the third year. And it was funny because I looked at the other packages. I was frustrated because I'm like, dang, man, this already got picked up. What are we doing? And I looked at their packages and I'm like, those are really good packages. I'm like, that's why
Mhm.
they're super good. And I don't know, they were good people too. I was just annoyed because it's competitive and you're like, come on, man. You know how it is.
Mhm.
Just, I don't know, being selfish. That's what it was, being a baby.
There you go.
And
Mhm.
so I'm like, all
So
right,
you
this year
eventually got selected.
I did. I loaded the shotgun though. Like that had a ton of stuff in it this time. I'm like,
Yeah, I can tell.
put it on a 13.
Okay.
And then I
So
stayed.
is there like a OCS or anything that you go through? Or is there like when you're selected, you're
Yeah, there is. It's a limited duty officer warrant officer school up in Rhode Island. And that was my second time there because when I was a senior chief, I went up and I went to the senior enlisted academy as well. And that was great. That was a good time. You learn a lot. It's like 16 weeks of courses of
Mhm.
class in like 6 weeks at the time. It was just a fire hose. But you meet some really good people and some lifelong friendships there that I
Yeah.
met there. This guy named Mike Noble from the Marine Corps, and then John Carter, who was a ET. He'd spent like 10 years in DevGru, and then they wouldn't let him go back. So he became, CMC and went all over PACOM.
Mhm.
He retired over there not too long ago.
Nice. So what was life like as a chief warrant officer compared to enlisted?
Not much different. I mean, it's a lot different because now you're in the officer wardroom,
Mhm.
but you're also viewed as not a not you're not unrestricted line. So there's a little bit of difference there. Junior officers in the room take a minute to get to know you, but once they get to know you, it's good. Because you always look at you to grouchy old warrant, and it's true to a point, you're like, it's how you approach things, right? But it's also teaching. That's what you're there for, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the senior, skipper, CO, commodore, deputy, those guys in the wardroom, they lean on you a lot. They give you a lot of a lot of room. And then when they really need some kind of, I don't know, insight, right? They'll come and say, "Hey, what do you think about that?" I used to get pulled in for stuff all the time, and I was like the new guy at MTalk when I got there, and so between the director and his senior warrant, which is like a W4 or 5 at the time, and I'm the new guy. I'm the W2. I'm the new guy in all of the wardroom. And a lot of the guys didn't know me, but a few did. And that's the leadership did. So they were like, "Hey, we need you to come in on this." I'm like, "Okay." And then you would get questions. It's funny. And the LDOs are like, "Why are you going in there?" "I don't know. They asked me to. I'm just whatever they need. That's what it's for." It's funny. To
Yeah.
junior, the JOs, once they get to know you and understand you're not going to burn them at the stake or, bite their face off, they trust, but you have to get through some of that shell, right? Because there's guys out there that are, they are true to the term, gratio warrant. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
it's funny, and some of them, they always laugh at us because, there's times, you give them the business, you're like, you get on them, like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
"What do you mean?" I'm like,
I think people need that accountability too, because if
they
you're
do,
being an
and
a-hole, internally, you're going to be externally, and it's
oh
their
man.
choice to make a difference or not, but it's good to call them out.
I really like the role because you can reach into everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can reach into senior leadership. I can reach into the JOs. I can reach into our listed, right? Our legacy. I can still reach all of them. I don't think our community struggles, the LDO AvOps community, um, because we're not and I'm going to say this is my opinion, right? After years and years of doing this, but we're not in the right places we need to be. Some of them we are, and some of them are needed, but there's others that we used to be in that we're not anymore.
So where did you end your career, Navy career?
Jax, yep. I went, so after, let's say I got commissioned, I went to MTalk 3 via MTalk 9, 5. There was a whole changeover. My first set of orders as a warrant was supposed to go to CARE. And then my previous OIC was then a director of TAC Mobile in Jacksonville. He calls me and says, "Hey, I need you over here." I'm like, "We got to call the detailer. I need you to go to the boat." I'm like, and he was one of the kind of a senior guy in the community. And I'm like, "Shh, don't threaten me with a good time. Stay on scare. I'm in. Let's do it." So we did. And I went to MTalk 3. And then from 3, I rotated to Bahrain. And so that was a whole another process. So the DTAC, I call the determine my negotiating window. I'm like, maybe like, I don't know, maybe like a year, 10 months before that, 2 senior guys, Eddie Cruz and Gil Bermudez, they both came to me. One's a warrant, one's an senior LDO. And they're like, "Hey, you need to go to Bahrain." I'm like, "Dude, I want to go to Bahrain. What for?" He's like, there's goodness there in the position that you fill, getting qualifications. We call them AQDs. Anyway, so there's seats. Like when you become a warrant, you get ones automatically, right? And then you go to certain positions, you'll get like ASW analysis, or there's and watch floor and all these ones. Bahrain had some specific individual ones that were really good for your career that not everybody could get because you had to go to Bahrain to get them.
Mm-hmm.
This is like 10 months
If you want
earlier.
that, you got to come here.
And I'm like, "Dude, I don't want to go there. I don't care about that." Like, it's Bahrain. I've been there a bunch of times. I don't want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you really need to go. So they're prepping me to try and help me, right? I'm like, "Okay." So a year later, detailer comes across. He's like, "Hey, what are you thinking?" And I'm like, and I'm trying to stay in Jacksonville, right? Because I've been there a while now. I got there in 02. This is 15 at this point, like late,
Yeah, yeah.
late 15, we'll say. And I'm like, "Yeah, I want to go to MTalk 3, 5, 7, 9, whatever is in Jacksonville. I'm just trying to stay there. Go to CNATU. I'll go." He's like, "That's, yeah, man, it's not good for your career." And the detailer for us, he's kind of like he's not our mentor, but he's definitely somebody who's on our benefit, trying to help us, right? He's an advocate for us. He's supposed to
Mm-hmm.
be. He's like, we talked through it, and he goes, "There's a couple guys in front of you that might hold you up and you might not get promoted." And I'm like, because it's important. But I'm like, well, and the guys he's talking about is like, let's say a Ryan Keenan, right? Who's now our W5 in our community. Great dude. And I knew him as a first class when he was a AWO P3 guy. We lived in the same neighborhood. His wife worked at the hospital with Aaron. They knew each other from just, and it's funny how we cross paths.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, ooh. And then he goes, "Well, what about Bahrain?" I'm like, ooh. Because at that point, Mackenzie, she's my oldest. She's like, we're rolling into her like junior year.
Yeah, it's tough.
It is, and we're heavy into school, into soccer, like recruiting. I'm like, oh man, and it's proms, just the stuff that's important. And you're like,
Hmm.
and I'm like,
Yeah,
oh
absolutely.
man, it's super hard. So I came home and I'm like, let me ask Aaron. He goes, if you go to Byron for me for a year, I'll bring you back to Jack's shore duty. And this normally you have to do two back-to-back seas, so 6 years ish and one shore. He's offered me 3 years already did 1 year of overseas, and then I can do at the time what I thought was 2 years of shore. I'm like, all right, let me talk to Aaron. Let me work through this. And he goes, I'll bring you back to this. And he didn't know what it was. This HSM Winglant SAR School Jacks. I'm like, this is the best part. And he laughed at me. He goes, I said, you can do that? And he's like, yeah, I'm the effing detailer. Of course I can.
Right.
And I'm like, here, well, I said, I got to let you know up front, this is going to stir the pot. Okay. He's like, why? I said, because this is a coveted position by the LDOs. And even our senior leadership, they're like, this is a career milestone for a lieutenant who's going to be an 04. And he's like, I don't care. If they go to Bahrain, like go to Bahrain for me and I would build them in, but nobody wants to go. So if you're willing to entertain it, I'll give it to you. I'm like, so. And Erin knew, like I came back and she's like, I'm like, what do you think? She goes, is it good? I said, it's a year. It's good. It's a year in Bahrain. I mean, it's short duty. I'll be busy down there doing stuff, but I'll do the year there and I'll come home like maybe once or twice in between. And then, I'll be in short duty for a couple of years at SAR school. I'll be the OIC. And she already knows. She goes, okay, because she got it right. She's like, that's no warrant in modern day era has ever been the OIC there.
Yeah, it's
It's
amazing.
always been LDOs, right? And I'm like, I mean, I would be awesome. I would love to. That would be so good. And so sure enough, so I call back within 24 hours. I didn't need 24 hours. I tell them, okay, we're in. Let's do it. So then months go by and I tell uh, Eddie Cruz, and I only tell him because I know how these guys are sometimes. I've seen it firsthand. They want to like call the detailer and want up you and get your orders and stupid stuff.
Hmm.
I've seen it in action one time before, especially with this billet. There was a guy trying to take another guy's billet, two lieutenants. One was here and one wasn't. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, that's his billet. Don't be calling the detailer trying to take his billet. Like, what are you
Hmm.
doing? Like, it's just Blue Falcon all the way. And so I kept it. It's like everything else. When you're doing something, what do you do? Till it's established and done, you keep it close to the chest. You just build it, right? And so I did. I kept it close to the chest. Well, then they needed me to go on another kind of quick, short term, we'll call it deployment to Misawa, Japan, because there was another TAC mobile group that was just establishing and they'd never been on deployment before. So me and like four other guys from my talk, my M talk, we went out there, we trained them, and then we got them qualified instead of watches and helped them kind of set up and rebuild them in Misawa, Japan. It hadn't been deployment like that in a long time. And all the facilities were there because this is one of the legacy places they had. So we went in and helped them get settled and established and showed them how to run everything. And then probably it was like 3 or 4 months. And then we came back and then I came back to Jack's. But in that time, I get a phone call from a real good friend, Tommy Jacobson. He's one of our senior LDS. And we have these meetings, community meetings, right? Where we get like our detailer and then like the recruiting roadshow comes into town to Jack's for the Mustangs for all LDOs and warrants. And we
Hmm.
have specific guys that are on the team out of Bupers. They'll come in and they'll get briefs in their recruiting. Well, then we get these sidebars with just our group, right? And our leadership. And sure enough, it comes out that I have orders in that group to SAR school. It's so funny. Tommy goes, dude, you wouldn't believe the chaos that caused. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, there's just people that are upset that you're going to SAR school. I'm like, wow. And I'm like, tell me who. I want names. He wouldn't tell me. That's just Tommy. He's such a good guy. I'm like, I would just talk to him and say, and so then I get home and it immediately becomes apparent on one in particular for sure. He's like, I've been back maybe like a week or so back in the building. He's like, hey, I hear you're going to SAR school. I'm like, yep, yep, yep. I didn't say anything. He goes, well, how does that work? How did you work that deal? I'm like, I'm going to Bahrain. He's like, I said, go to Bahrain. He's like, I want to go to Bahrain. There you go. I'm going to Bahrain doing the detailer. He asked me to go, and I said yes, and he's going to give me these orders. End of story. So, and that's how that came to be. It was funny. So then I left there, and then went to Bahrain for a year. Good tour there. The staff, the Commodore. the deputy, that was a good group of people. And it's all about timing, I guess, but it was phenomenal. We did a lot of good work there. We had to like move the entire debt site that they were in. So the base that they use is south from Manama, which is where basically all the CTFs are, all the task forces, and basically the COCOM, the component commander, the 3-star is there in Manama. The site that the MPRA uses, P3s, P8s, is south in a little base called Sheikh Isa. And so we had to move the runway was getting repaired, so we had to move all the deploying parts that we needed back to IUD, which is where they used to deploy it on IUD Qatar, that same base that they just took shots at recently, right?
Right.
It's funny. So they'd been out deployed out there for a long time. We put everything back down there. Got deployment, everybody there, and then we had to move it again in another turnover from there back to Bahrain. It was a lot of work, but it was fun. The group we had was super good, and it's funny when you're talking about like what the role is and what it's like. You really get to, like, I was a W3 then, I mean, on a pay scale, that's nothing, right? But having Commodores that trust you and will allow you to do and run with things and just don't mess it up. You know what I mean? Just don't mess it up. And then get with the JOs and give them what they need, the training, the experiences, and they're super good. There's guys there that made it so easy, and they were just phenomenal. I couldn't praise those guys more because we did a lot of stuff. We were busy.
Yeah. Well, that helps make the time go by too. So you
For sure.
finally make it back, and you're back home for good.
Yeah.
Tell us about like what does a OID do for SAR school? This is this surface?
Yeah. It's surface Starksville Jacks. It's fun. It's like you're in command. I work for a Commodore at that point. I just like the other COs in the squadrons. You just don't have the title and all the things that a 05 would have, right, as a commander, the CO and X. But those guys, they don't. I had zero steering from them, right? Like you come back, you check in, you go meet the W, you go meet the Commodore, and you live through a couple, as they do turnover as well, and they're all good. I mean, probably my favorite out of the group that I had was probably Chip Whitfield. Super good human, but they're all good. I mean, he was down there, so we still talk every once in a while now. He'll call me up for something. Hey, what do you know about this? And you talk to this guy. It's pretty funny. He's retired, and I think he's in DC working up there now. Just super good human. The role as OIC is awesome because now you still do the same, right? You were a chief and a senior chief, so I have a chief's mess that really runs herd. But being a SAR guy, what should be done, what it is, what it's not. You just get back up to speed. I never wanted to be an instructor there because you get instructor bias when you do that, right? And the instructors are just like our instructors at AIR, right? Because we have a Cat 2 class. We had like three high-risk training courses there. You got Cat 1 for surface, Cat 2 for SAR, and then SAR-PO, right? So they're all high-risk training. You have 5 massive inspections a year for safety and like all these other ones, right? Course curriculum. So you have to know how to manage all that stuff and everybody in. And it's super good. Everybody's MTS, everybody's high-risk training instructor. They send them. I didn't want to be an instructor because, and I don't think any OIC there should be, because now you understand instruction already, right? We've already been instructors throughout our career, so you understand the process and the high-risk training piece. What it allows me to do is split my instructor and staff base, right? And the students. So my staff can be here, my students can be here. Because as an OIC, you don't interview every student, but you talk to them all the time. I would do interviews with them, random, pull them in. When they DOR, you bring them in and there's like a DOR out interview. And if they're struggling, you bring them in to talk to them and see what happened at this point, where they came from. There's a lot of front end work that goes into it because you got to know where they're coming from. The Cat 1 portion is so it's so rewarding because then you see when guys actually do a rescue out in the fleet and you hear about it later, right? And then you're like, yeah, see, there it is, paid off, and then
it's interesting because from a DOR perspective, you are now in a position to encourage them because they just failed at something they wanted to do.
Fact.
That could change their life, just from a negative standpoint. But then you have that exit interview and, real opportunity to encourage.
Well, and tell them it's not the end of the world.
Hmm.
Like whatever the circumstance is, right? It's just a thing. Yeah, it sucks right now. It's because it was important to you at the time. You wanted to do this thing, you want to do it, and you either failed, or you DOR'd. And it depends on which way they go. Like when
Hmm.
they would fail, we'd bring them in and do an interview and make sure and touch and see and to make sure like what is not clicking and what are you missing really. And sometimes it's background, like prep before they got there. I had a guy, and I'll never forget this day. One of the students who had never put on a set of fins until he got there, and he passed. I'm like, that's amazing, man. You are a credit to everyone. I mean, you just
Hmm.
gutted it out and didn't quit. That's it. I mean, he was slow a little bit. I think he failed like maybe one time thing we brought him in. And he just wasn't used to it. And it was kicking him. It was kicking his ass a little bit. And you're like, but then at the end, like he tells you that, I'm like, yeah, I just put him on when I got here. I'm like, what? No prep, dude. Are you crazy? I'm like, that's awesome, but he gutted it out. And
Yeah,
it's a grind. It's not easy. And for any of these guys, they're all amazing when they do it. And you get different groups from different places. And that's always like the scary part is when the overseas guys would send people. So let's
hmm,
say I get somebody coming from Atsugi, Japan, from one of the ships, right? Because the ship decides who they're going to send.
great.
You don't know. You find out later because there's people and places that you can call and say, "Hey, how is this guy's prep? Did he prep? Did he come to you?" There's those, right? And you get a hold of them and you kind of see what their history was, whether it was good or bad, if whether the ship let them go train or not. There's always this back and forth. And so you get them in. And always the worry was like when they would let them go on a Thursday or a Friday from Japan. You're like, oh my God, it's gonna be bad. Because they
Hmm.
gotta fly, 16 hours plus
Yeah,
to
jet
get
lag.
there. They get there on Friday or Saturday. They gotta acclimate to a day. They're skipping all these time zones, jet lag. And so Monday became a admin day. Check records,
Hmm.
make sure they're good, do like an in-dock, uniform inspection. Like it was all admin that day, kind of teaching them and picking a class leader and that. Tuesday was where the end test became, right? Because we tried to give them an extra day. But that's as much as we could do based on the number of days of training we had.
Sure.
It is what it is. I
So
really
you,
enjoyed it
with
though.
your background, man, you've been all over the map,
Oh yeah.
checking every box that you could possibly do in the back of the aircraft. You have a real opportunity to, I don't know if evolve, but the last thing you want to do is come in and just revamp the whole thing. That's never a good leadership thing. Like, oh, everything's wrong. I'm going to make it right. But you have all these unique perspectives, a rescue yourself, lots of rescues. Um, what do you think was the biggest thing that you were able to contribute to the school?
I think when you're hitting on the head though, so when you come into a place, I always say this and people make fun of me, but I said you got 2 ears and one mouth. You need to listen first. Some
Hmm.
things don't need change. They don't need an update, right? Maybe some efficiencies, whatever, but you need to spend the time learning before. Like see what's in progress here, see how it runs. So then if there's changes that need, then okay, then let's adjust some things. Maybe we need this. And we would do that. We would do a course curriculum review after every class. And we would type out lessons learned for each class, every notes, and we would keep them on file for years. And so we would go back and do analysis if we saw something that kind of piped out, or like another schoolhouse, because there's one in San Diego, obviously another service school, and then the main one, in Pensacola. We were all talking kind of under the same umbrella. We didn't all work for the same groups, let's say. Like Service San Diego works for, I think, HSC3 is who they work for exclusively like that. And then obviously Pensacola is Schools Command in Pensacola. So, but we all had the same similar curriculums and we're all kind of attached to the hip. So whenever curriculum things would come up or questions or like at a SAR conference with new gear stuff, you evaluate it, you put it out there and you talk about it amongst the groups and you just
Hmm.
get the knowledge. I think my favorite part that I was able to, let's say, effect for SAR school is we redid the grinder, right? I got enough money it was concrete and no shape.
Hmm.
And so the guy before me, Chase Matthews, was able to do some stuff like this too, right? Like all of and it was just rough and raggedy some of it. So he was able to get enough money from the supply and HSM wing to do all of our gear lockers on the pool deck, right? Redo them, and it was way better. And paint that pool is one of the oldest buildings on base in Jax. It's from the 50s
Yeah.
and it's massive. It's a 50 by 25-meter pool, so it's huge. And
Hmm.
we got the old pictures up to what they used to have, and then you see the new platform that's in there and that kind of stuff. So I think my favorite part was able to get a cool sunshade over the PT grinder,
Mm-hmm.
new concrete pad to the left, fully coated with the rubber stuff so they weren't just killing themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
that one thing costs like, I don't know, over $100,000.
Yeah.
But the beauty of it is knowing the supply system and the suppo, right? So when I go to him, I'm like, hey, I need a favor. He's like, what do you got? And I give him everything already pre-written, pre-done, numbers. All I got to do is go get quotes. Most people don't get that until, and maybe never, later on when you go to supply and say, hey, I need this, right? I don't need anything. I said, I need a favor, I need help with this. But
Mm-hmm.
when you do the homework up front, right? And you give it to them like that, they're like, oh yeah, I just got some money here. And he would give me pretty much anything carte blanche because he knew I would have everything he needed to make it simple.
Yeah.
We would have gear. I mean, we didn't have a huge budget, but it was like 250,000 or something for the year. Different than that pot of money, right? And that was for all the gear. So whenever a student would come through and graduate, we would give them a set of gear and send them out the door. And then there was a transition phase in there. I think this is one of the, I don't know, one of the good points too. The SAR service SAR guys were behind. So they were using the old SAR harness,
Mm-hmm.
the LP1 like that. And that thing sucked. It was like
Oh yeah.
pull you up and it was no
Yeah.
good. So there was a point in time that after, maybe like a year or so, the community as a whole, we finally got it to where let's upgrade these guys. They need a TriStar too. With that, I got my first TriStar in like, I was in 11 when I got it. So, and probably like 04, 05.
Yeah.
The seawall started getting them, and we had good guys that,
Yeah. And your back's already permanently damaged at that point.
yeah, it's jacked. That's a whole nother story. This is what it is, the abuse you put yourself through. But we were able to get the TriStar established for the whole community, for everyone. Air,
Nice.
surface, doesn't matter. And that was a big win because the seat, it has like a seat in it, kind of like a rappel harness, but the upper body too, where you can just sit and
Yeah.
relax
Yeah.
as you go up and
Yeah.
down.
Those leg loops are huge.
No, they're awesome.
It's
So
everything
comfy.
integrated. That's awesome.
I think those are my favorite things. I mean, getting guys trained through into the fleet successfully qualified and get them out the carrier, the small boy, and them having success because there's some that they had multiple rescues.
Yeah.
And to get those news back and stuff and put it, we put them in a frame on the wall or something.
That's cool.
And my favorite part was always the class graduation gift to the schoolhouse. There's decades, years of those things on the wall in that school. And I'll talk. I can't remember the oldest one, but it was really old. And I can't remember if I think you interviewed Rick. I think Rick Schoaf, right?
Mhm.
So there's a group of his guys that came to the schoolhouse. I think one day, just wanted to look up plaques. I'm like, come on, fellas, check it out, and just look up because let's walk through memory lane for him. I don't know if he was in that group or not, but I know that group is all kind of attached to the hip. Those
Mhm.
guys, and they would come through and look at him and stuff, and it was pretty neat. And it was always funny ones, but you get it like there's ones that can be on display in the hallway from the office all the way down where all the offices are, and then it's a ton, right? And in the classroom. And there's ones that we can't put on display. They have to be up in the instructor office upstairs. They're hilarious. There's nothing bad, but just some of the comments people might get offended by. It's fun.
Oh yeah.
They were humorous,
That's funny. Well, cool. Well, let's wrap this up. I'm gonna split this into two
Okay.
because
I'll be here all day, buddy.
no, I know you will.
It's a lot to try and cram in, man. That's years.
Yeah, no, that's all good stuff.
You you remember when we went rappelling?
Rappelling up at
Yeah.
Cuyamaca?
Yep.
Yeah.
I was surprised that time about the other day. I'm like, I don't even remember because it was because of Derek's brother, right? It was Darren Isham that took us.
Darren, yeah.
Yeah. I had been in Arizona with my stepdad because he was like a deputy sheriff in his group. And that's where I learned. That's something small, maybe 100 feet, maybe at most. But that's where I learned it was funny. And I went Aussie that day with him and stuff. So then when we went up there, I'm like, this is awesome. This is fun.
Yeah. Yeah, those are fun times back then.
They were, man.
Crazy things. Two questions. One, what is out of everything, just incredible experiences, just where I left you was just like such a small piece, but even that in itself, I did my 6 years, I was out. By that time, you'd already had some amazing experiences, but just across the board, what would you say the most defining moment in your entire Navy career was?
Man, I don't know. One of the turning moments was probably when I graduated SAR school because it gives you that confidence, right? So you accomplished that. when I was 15, that wreck, that took me back, set me back a long time. Like in that process, so I had played varsity my freshman year. I played in a couple games. Like me and two other guys from our freshman team were freshmen in high school. And so we got pulled up to play varsity. And so there was planning going on right the next year and the year after to move up and do well and just trying legacy. I didn't wrestle very well that year because I was a freshman getting just crushed because the age gap difference and the strength and the learning and experience. There were some really good guys out there.
Sure.
But track, before we got in the accident, track, I'd actually qualified for state on the 4x1 relay. And that was that weekend that it happened. I'm pretty sure. And so, that all went out the window and I was just a freshman. And then coming back from that, it took a long time. Like we never really talked about it too much. I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but the processing and it was really bad. So my mom lives in Arizona. My dad and mom were divorced at that point in time by then. And so my dad had remarried and his second wife died in that accident. And then my younger brother, he's my half brother, he was injured really bad for the rest of his life. He had a brain injury that was he was functional and conversating, but he would like have seizures and he was kind of slow at that point forever. And so he passed away in like 16, but it took a lot away from me because I didn't understand 15-year-old kid, right? And you don't really talk about that stuff. And so it's weird. So coming back from that, like the next few years, I was never the same. I mean, I played, varsity and I was all conference my senior year. But I didn't play the same position. It was just different. I could still play and I loved it. Don't get me wrong. And that helped build a little bit of confidence back, a little bit of what I had before. And then I wrestled. I couldn't put it together that year. And I was just awful. That was horrible that year. And then my senior year in track, my junior year, I qualified. I went to state in 300 hurdles. And then my senior year, I did the 4x4 because I messed up in hurdles and like a 100-meter, 200 or something. Something happened. I didn't go well. I can't remember what it was. Coming back from all that. So the surgery, the boot camp, it's little steps, right, to get you to build that confidence back and to understand that you're okay and you can do things, right, more than you ever thought you could do. So you go to SAR school and then I just kind of, I don't know, to graduate there, I'm like, okay, that was a huge step. That was a big one. I think
that's really huge. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the confidence, right? So you're just a young kid and you just live in life and, we didn't like I tell you then I barely know how to swim when I went there, I could dive, swim with fins on, but I don't as far as the career goes, defining moments, I don't know, man. There's a bunch. Like I couldn't separate one
that's it
from
though.
the
You
other.
nailed it right there. I mean, we could go through every duty station you were at and you're going to have defining moments, but the fact that you were able to come back from near death experience, the trauma, the traumatic experience, losing a stepmother,
Yeah,
and then your brother having a TBI and passing away eventually. I mean, that's huge. And for you didn't know, like at 15 years old, all you know is what you know.
that's it.
We're all ignorant at that point, and sports or whatever you're into seems like that's what you're going to do the rest of your life, and you're putting everything into it. All of that just side shifts. There's so
Yeah.
many levels of trauma that you're dealing with at that moment. And then to go into the Navy and, make it through one of the toughest schools you can get through, it's huge. And then you look at the lives you've saved and the things you've done in that 30-year span, and even the great stuff you're doing as in the civilian world now. It's amazing. It's a movie in the making. It's something that's inspirational. And I've been close with you. I've known you forever. And there's always gaps in life, and now we're back together.
But it's like we didn't miss anything though. We just got to catch up in the gaps, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I didn't even know this about you back then. It's not something that you just threw on the table.
Back then, I didn't share a lot about it. Back then. I would tell every once in a while. Like Jeremy Burkhart was my roommate for like 3 years, and I think he may have been one of a couple of people that knew, right? 'Cause I didn't share it a lot because it's just one of those things. It just happened. Like, what am I going to do? It's just life. I'm not going to pity part about it. It does. It's what happens, and you move on and you grow, right? You live through it. I mean, it stays with you. Like you're talking about the things that happen over life, the injuries they see, the people. That stuff stays with you forever. It doesn't go away. You either have to learn to live with it and move on, or you get stuck. Like you can't ever get out of it. And
Yeah,
so
you don't
it's
want
one
to
of those
camp
things.
in it by any means, but yeah, dealing
Yeah.
with it. Yeah, there's extremes, and a lot of people will put it in a box, and whether you consciously or unconsciously knew, you did. You compartmentalized before you were even really trained military wise to do that. And it's huge, and it's a huge thing that you overcame. And I'm more inspired after this conversation, and I feel I know you, and I've learned so much more about you. So you're an amazing person.
Yeah, I like to tell stories. I like to joke around and just, be happy and humble, right? I don't like the serious stuff that much and to talk about myself. It's really hard. I don't like it. Like this stuff is really hard for me because
I
my
can
wife,
tell.
Erin's super good. She always like, you need to put this up, you need to do that. Whenever we go to any game or sports event, she gets on me. You gotta like get the recognition. I'm like, "No, I don't need it. It's what I chose to do these things.
Yeah.
I don't need any of that. Like, and that's the part like where the relationships I think are the most important to me. And that was always the part I struggle with the most is having those gaps in time. I never liked that stuff, man. And when you fade away, and it's just life, it is what it is. But it's hard because those are the things I don't care for, and it makes it really hard because you always want to. In a perfect world, I would have exponential amount of land. We would all have, right? We would all live in the same area forever, right?
Hmm.
And just everybody do their thing and just be happy and be life because you want to maintain those relationships as long as you can. But it's
Yeah.
not real, right?
Yeah. Agreed. Well, with that said, what's a bit of wisdom you want to leave our listeners with?
Believe in yourself. If you'd asked somebody before like what it takes to get through all these hard things, and I'm like, it's mental toughness. You either have it or you don't. And it's one of those things that you like that kid I was telling you about who just put pins on the first time at the schoolhouse, right?
Hmm.
To get through all these things, you have to have the mental toughness to do it, and you just commit. That's it. I mean, you just one step, two step, three. Don't look too far ahead. Plan, focus on what you're immediately doing at the time. But you can do way more than you ever thought you could. And
Yeah.
it's to give that positive outlook and just, you're going to struggle. You're going to fail. You're going to make mistakes. Pick it up and go again because that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Great wisdom. So true. All right, everyone, do that. Believe in yourself. Failure's okay. Cool, Steve. And it's been a pleasure. Just so
Yeah.
cool
Thank
catching
you.
up. And for everyone else, we will see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Calm in the Chaos podcast. Please subscribe to be notified of future episodes. And if you enjoyed what you just heard, please leave a 5-star review on whatever platform you listen to podcasts. Until next time, get out there and make a difference so others may live.